Chapter 34:15. That mysterious immortal king brazenly attacked. Boom. He punched out, causing heaven and earth to shake violently. That unparalleled divine power that could suppress everything seemed to be able to shatter the heavens and destroy time and space. It was extremely powerful. The unparalleled fist print seemed to have formed a complete world, enveloping the three immortal kings and the Azure Dragon immortal king in front of him. What? As soon as the mysterious immortal king attacked, the three immortal kings of the Truth Immortal Court and the Azure Dragon immortal king immediately knew how powerful he was. Their expressions all became serious. They had already seen that this mysterious immortal king was actually also at the ninth heaven of the immortal king realm. He was not weaker than them at all. Most importantly, this punch was purely based on the power of the physical body. The supreme power that could destroy all Daos made them tremble in fear. They sensed a great threat from this mysterious immortal king. "Let's attack together and kill him." An immortal king shouted as killing intent surged in his eyes. Resplendent immortal light interweaved around his body as a dazzling flame saber appeared behind him. It pierced through the void for billions of miles, as if it could destroy everything. Great flame immortal art. Great thunder immortal art. Great god-slaying immortal art. The three immortal kings of the Truth Immortal Court with incomparably powerful auras were the blazing immortal king, the thunder immortal king, and the great god-slaying immortal king. They did not hesitate at all and unleashed their most powerful immortal arts. Behind them, raging flames rose, thunder surged, and dark divine light interweaved. Their auras were incomparably terrifying. At the same time, they turned into a flaming saber light, a thunder spear, and a great god-slaying immortal light, enveloping the mysterious immortal king. The immortal king realm experts had already cultivated the law of immortal Tao to the extreme. If they could take another step forward and come into contact with the eternal law of heaven, they would be able to break through to the quasi-immortal emperor realm. The supreme immortal arts that they unleashed seemed to be the origin of fire, thunder, and destruction, containing incomparably terrifying lethality. If it was an ordinary ninth heaven immortal king realm expert, facing the joint attack of the three of them, even if he didn't die, he would probably be severely injured in an instant. However, the mysterious immortal king's expression was indifferent and calm. His eyes were dazzling. He stepped forward, and the chaotic light around him rose, causing his fist print to become even more fierce and majestic. Rumble. Vaguely, it was as if a world of primal chaos was being opened up, and it was about to destroy all life. Even time and space were being obliterated. The flaming blade trembled violently. It could only hold on for a moment before it was blasted apart by the punch. Immediately after, the lightning spear was also pierced through. However, the divine light of destruction was actually able to pierce through the void. It was as if it was formless as it directly shot towards the forehead of the mysterious immortal king. The so-called god-slaying great immortal art was to slay the primordial spirit. It was incomparably fierce and impossible to guard against. Slaying immortal king had once used this immortal art to kill a ninth-level immortal king, which made him famous in the Truth Immortal Court. Boom. Boom. The Inferno Immortal King and the Thunder Immortal King both trembled as if they were struck by lightning. In front of that extremely powerful punch, they were directly sent flying. The Azure Dragon Immortal King was in an even worse state. Just being swept by the aftershock caused his entire body to tremble, and he coughed up blood as he was sent flying backwards. Only slaying Immortal King's immortal light rose from his body. In an instant, runes spread out as his entire body turned into billions of figures. Countless figures intertwined in the void, and at the same time, they released beams of god-slaying light, which directly enveloped the mysterious Immortal King. Die! Slaying Immortal King's eyes were filled with incomparably cold killing intent. You! The mysterious Immortal King did not seem to be flustered at all. Instead, he revealed a faint smile. Boom! The radiance between his brows was dazzling, and in an instant, it caused the surrounding void to tremble violently. In the endless chaotic light, It was as if a mysterious ancient tree had taken root in his primordial spirit's sea of consciousness. When the immortal annihilating light touched the mysterious ancient tree, it instantly melted like snow. What? Slaying Immortal King's body trembled, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. Boom! The mysterious Immortal King took a step forward and arrived in front of Slaying Immortal King in the next moment. Then he pointed his finger at Slaying Immortal King's forehead. The finger light was dazzling, as if it contained the endless power of time and space. It was like a long river of time, mysterious and vast. It seemed like it was going to freeze Slaying Immortal King on the spot. The power of time, Heavenly Tao? How is this possible? Get out of my way. Slaying Immortal King's soul almost left his body. His eyes were filled with incomparable horror. A dazzling radiance bloomed between his brows, and a mysterious rune rose up. The rune looked incomparably abstruse, and there seemed to be an incomparably mysterious figure within it. It was a familiar yet unfamiliar Immortal Tao divine rune. Suppress. It was the word, suppress. As soon as the word, suppress, came out, all the restrictive power melted away like snow. The mysterious Immortal King's finger light touched Slaying Immortal King's forehead, causing his body to tremble violently and his forehead to crack. Golden Immortal Tao blood spilled out, but he was still alive in the end. An Immortal Tao rune left behind by a quasi-immortal emperor? The mysterious Immortal King's eyes revealed a hint of surprise, but he showed no signs of letting Slaying Immortal King go. He slapped down from the sky. Boom! Slaying Immortal King's body shook violently. His protective immortal light was almost shattered. Dense cracks like a spider web appeared on it, and he was sent flying. In the blink of an eye, the three Immortal Kings of the Truth Immortal Court and the Azure Dragon Immortal King were defeated. The powerful combat strength displayed by the mysterious Immortal King made the four of them tremble in fear, and their expressions were incomparably ugly. Especially the three Immortal Kings of the Truth Immortal Court. They were all experts in the ninth heaven of the Immortal King realm, but the mysterious Immortal King was much stronger than them. His body is indestructible. I don't know what kind of opportunity he has obtained, but it has been refined to the level of a quasi-immortal emperor. It seems to be transforming into a body of laws. I'm afraid the three of us are no match for him. Slaying Immortal King's expression was incomparably ugly as he said slowly. Now that things have come to this, we can only ask the Sword of Truth for help. As long as the sword chi of the Sword of Truth's projection is enough to destroy him. Blazing Immortal King said slowly. That's right. This person must die, and we must get that emperor-grade immortal herb. Otherwise, if those quasi-immortal emperors of the Immortal Court know about it, I'm afraid we won't even be able to drink the soup. Thunder Immortal King said coldly. Azure Dragon Immortal King was hiding far away, not daring to come closer. This was not a battle he could participate in. Didn't he see that the three Immortal Kings of the Truth Immortal Court were in such a miserable state? If he was careless, he was afraid that a punch from the mysterious Immortal King would be able to kill him completely. He finally understood why the great light Immortal King died in the hands of this mysterious Immortal King. The difference between the two was too great. Chapter 34:16. Boss, is this our master? He's too strong. Those four Immortal Kings couldn't even withstand a single blow from him. The illusion demon Immortal Herb said excitedly, its eyes filled with flattery. He's my master. What does that have to do with you? Don't claim to be his relative. You're not worthy. Immortal King Qilin said proudly. Yes. Boss, you're my master, and he's my master's master. Let's see who dares to bully me when I follow you, boss. The illusion demon Immortal Herb said excitedly. Of course. My master is destined to become an immortal emperor. He'll rule over the eternal immortal domains and dominate an entire epoch. He'll be invincible. You should count yourself lucky for 8 lifetimes to have a connection to him. Immortal King Qilin smiled proudly. Naturally, his heart was filled with excitement and excitement. Although he was an immortal emperor-grade immortal herb and had obtained a great opportunity to take human form, he had become the target of public criticism. Many people wanted to capture him or even kill him to refine pills. He had lived a precarious life for many years until he met his master. He finally understood how great it was to have such a powerful backer. However, boss, the Sword of Truth is the eternal emperor weapon of the Truth Celestial Court. It contains the power of the eternal heavenly Tao and can destroy everything. Can he deal with it? The illusion demon Immortal Herb said worriedly. The Sword of Truth is nothing. Don't worry, it can't do anything to my master. Immortal King Qilin smiled proudly. Zhao Hao, Murong Inxue, Mu Yunfeng, and Zhu Qizong looked at each other when they heard the conversation between the Immortal King Qilin and the illusion demon Immortal Herb. Zhao Hao, especially, knew how terrifying the eternal emperor weapon was. It was the supreme treasure of an immortal emperor. It was so powerful that it could even kill a boundary immortal emperor. The Sword of Truth was an eternal emperor weapon. It was the supreme treasure left behind by the founder of the Truth Celestial Court, the Truth Immortal Emperor. It had been protecting the Truth Celestial Court's fortune. Although no immortal emperor had been born in the Truth Celestial Court, the Sword of Truth was the reason it had been able to stand strong for so many years. Could this mysterious immortal king who had returned from the Chaos Sea really resist the Sword of Truth? For some reason, a trace of worry surfaced in Zhao Hao's heart. Rumble. At the same time, the three immortal kings of the Truth Immortal Court summoned the Sword of Truth without any hesitation. A mysterious immortal talisman appeared in each of their palms. Then, endless immortal light rose and poured into the immortal talisman, causing the immortal talisman to emit a dazzling light. The space behind them instantly cracked open. An incomparably terrifying aura gushed out, as though it came from the primordial times. It was so powerful that it seemed capable of obliterating the great Tao and shattering the natural laws of heaven and earth of the eternal immortal domains. Even immortal kings were like ants in front of that aura. They felt their entire bodies trembling. The mysterious immortal king's eyes also flickered with divine light, revealing a hint of seriousness. Boom! In the next moment, a strange ancient sword slowly flew out from the broken void and floated above the heads of the three immortal kings. The ancient sword looked very ordinary, as if it was a stone sword made of mountain rocks. There was even a crack on it. However, that ancient sword was not ordinary at all. Mysterious ancient runes were branded on it, intertwining with each other. It seemed to contain the birth and destruction of a civilization, and contained the supreme will of truth. As soon as it appeared in the void, everyone felt as if they were facing a great enemy. They trembled all over as if they couldn't help but fall to their knees. The Sword of Truth. The pale-faced immortal King Qilin, Zhao Hao, and the others instantly realized that this was the Sword of Truth. However, this wasn't the Sword of Truth's true form, but a mere projection. If a mere projection possessed such terrifying power, even the immortal kings felt the great terror of being on the brink of death. How terrifying would the true eternal emperor weapon be? You're dead meat. With the Sword of Truth's projection, even a quasi-immortal emperor won't be able to save you. The Azure Dragon Immortal King's eyes were filled with cold, killing intent. He was certain that the mysterious Immortal King would die without a doubt. As for the three Immortal Kings of the Truth Celestial Court, each of them had a cold look in their eyes. Killing intent rose from their bodies as they channeled their boundless energy into the ancient sword. Slash! As the power of the ancient sword rose to the extreme, the surrounding void trembled violently, as if it would completely collapse at any time. The Destruction Immortal King, the Inferno Immortal King, and the Thunder Immortal King all roared at the same time. Boom! The Sword of Truth was like a dazzling light, instantly enveloping the void. It was as if a brilliant chapter of civilization had appeared in front of everyone. Then, the sky was filled with sword light. Those sword lights were pointed at the origin. They were incomparably terrifying, formless and intangible, but they could destroy everything. No one could describe the elegance of that sword. The Sword of Truth directly appeared in front of the forehead of the mysterious Immortal King. Then, sword light gushed out, and a vast power erupted as it slashed down. But at this moment, the forehead of the mysterious immortal king split open, and golden blood light spread out. At the same time, a mysterious ancient sword flew out, releasing a dazzling light. In an instant, it collided with the sword of truth. Rumble. As if it was a battle of fate, the ancient sword and the sword of truth bloomed with endless light at the same time. The vast and eternal might of the heavenly Tao descended, wanting to completely annihilate all the living beings in the surroundings. In the end, the ancient sword still destroyed the sword of truth. Dazzling light sprinkled down from the sky, and it looked so dreamy. How is this possible? The three immortal kings of the Truth Immortal Court originally had cold smiles on their faces, waiting for the mysterious immortal king to be killed. But at this moment, their smiles froze. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. The projection of the sword of truth was actually destroyed? How was this possible? One must know that even a weapon of a quasi-immortal emperor would find it difficult to destroy the projection of the sword of truth. It could only be done by those powerful quasi-immortal emperors. How did this mysterious immortal king do it? Kill! But then, before they could think too much, they heard an incomparably cold voice from the mysterious immortal king. Rumble! The strange ancient sword released a dazzling light, crossing hundreds of millions of miles of the void. At this moment, the entire secret realm of the Hanging Sword Mountain was trembling violently, as if it was supported by a vast and eternal might of the heavenly Tao. Then, it slashed down fiercely toward the three immortal kings of the Truth Immortal Court and the Azure Dragon Immortal King. I remember now. This is the legendary sword in the secret realm of the Hanging Sword Mountain? How is this possible? How can that sword still be here? The immortal slaying immortal king trembled all over, and his eyes were filled with incomparable horror. But soon, his voice and the four immortal kings were drowned out by the dazzling sword light that filled the sky. Between heaven and earth, only the dazzling ancient sword was left. It was like a brilliant sun, crossing the void and destroying everything. Chapter 34:17. Boom. Sword light slashed through space and destroyed yin and yang. Boundless immortal light soared into the sky as the power of laws intertwined. The might of the eternal heavenly Tao exploded. The three immortal kings of the Celestial Court of Truth and the Azure Dragon Immortal King didn't even have time to react before they were killed. Their immortal king bodies shattered, their nascent spirits destroyed, and their true spirits erased. Everything ceased to exist. It was as if the four celestial kings had never existed in this world. They had been completely erased by that sword. The power of a single sword strike was unimaginable. Could this be the legendary Eternal Emperor weapon? Zhao Hao and the others were scared out of their wits. After a long pause, the pale-faced Mu Yunfeng stammered. Even the prideful immortal King Qilin couldn't help but smile obsequiously. His master sword strike had truly frightened him. Zhu Qizong and Mu Yunfeng exchanged a look and saw the fear in each other's eyes. Their previous hatred and murderous intent were gone. They just realized that the Great Light Immortal King and the Azure Dragon Immortal King had both died at the hands of the mysterious Immortal King in the Chaos Sea. At this moment, the two of them were also in imminent danger. That sword, could it be the legendary Sword of Origin? Zhu Qizong shuddered as a thought occurred to him. The Sword of Origin? The Eternal Emperor weapon left behind by the Origin Immortal Emperor? Mu Yunfeng was also incomparably shocked. He recalled the origins of Hanging Sword Mountain's secret realm. According to the ancient records of the Azure Dragon Immortal Sect, the formation of Hanging Sword Mountain's secret realm had something to do with the legendary Origin Immortal Emperor. In an incomparably ancient epic, the Origin Immortal Emperor and the Truth Immortal Emperor had engaged in a great battle that shocked the entire eternal immortal domains. In the end, the Origin Immortal Emperor had perished. The Truth Immortal Emperor had won and founded the Truth Immortal Court, which had become a superpower that ruled over thousands of provinces in the eternal immortal domains. According to the ancient records of the Azure Dragon Immortal Sect, The Origin Immortal Emperor had left behind the secret realm of Hanging Sword Mountain. However, after so many years, no one had ever discovered the Origin Immortal Emperor's legacy, let alone the Sword of Origin, an eternal emperor weapon. Perhaps only the Sword of Origin could wipe out the 4 immortal kings so easily. If the Sword of Origin, the legendary eternal emperor weapon, fell into the hands of this mysterious immortal king, then it would be a big deal. At this moment, the ancient sword emitted dazzling immortal light as 2 immortal Tao runes appeared on its surface. Origin. It was the word, origin. This really was the Sword of Origin. However, to everyone's astonishment, the word, origin, was trembling non-stop and growing dimmer and dimmer. In the end, it completely disappeared and turned into another word. Devour the heavens. Heaven-devouring sword. Heaven-devouring, you came from the primal chaos sea with me. You are destined to reach the peak of the celestial realm. The mysterious immortal king murmured to himself. Then, the space between his eyebrows shone brightly. The devouring heaven sword instantly fused into his sea of consciousness and was nurtured by him. This mysterious immortal king was Ling Xiao. He had left the Yorwild's realm and drifted through the primal chaos sea. It could be said that he had narrowly escaped death. He had experienced countless dangers and almost died countless times in the primal chaos sea. Finally, after countless years, he had come to the eternal immortal domains. In the eternal immortal domains, he had followed Zhao Ritian's aura and found this place, as well as the secret realm of Hanging Sword Mountain. The secret realm of Hanging Sword Mountain was indeed a secret realm left behind by the Origin Immortal Emperor and contained his legacy. Ling Xiao had not appeared before because he had been searching for the Origin Immortal Emperor's legacy. In the end, he had not only obtained the legacy, but also the Eternal Emperor weapon, the Sword of Origin. However, the Sword of Origin had been severely damaged in the battle all those years ago. It could no longer be considered an Eternal Emperor weapon, but a quasi-emperor weapon at best. The Origin Immortal Emperor had even refined it into a sword embryo. Just now, Ling Xiao had unleashed the last of the Eternal Heavenly Tao's power and merged it with the Heaven-devouring sword. That was how the Sword of Origin had completely disappeared. Now, only the Heaven-devouring sword remained. The Sword of Origin was gone. 2 beams of sword light bloomed from Ling Xiao's fingertips, instantly killing Zhu Qizong and Mu Yunfeng. Since he had killed the Great Light Immortal King and the Azure Dragon Immortal King, there was no need to keep them alive. In the end, only Immortal King Qilin, the Phantasmal Demon Immortal Herb, Zhao Hao, and Murong Inxue were left. Immortal light swirled around Ling Xiao as he took a step forward and landed in front of Zhao Hao. "Greetings, Master. Master's might is unfathomable. You've killed 4 immortal kings in a single battle. Your name will surely shake the eternal immortal domains." Immortal King Qilin hurried over with a fawning smile. The phantasmal demon Immortal Herb was even more fawning, but she had no right to speak here. She could only stare at Immortal King Qilin and Ling Xiao. "My name might not shake the eternal immortal domains. I'm afraid the Truth Immortal Court will hunt me down next." Ling Xiao said coolly. "The Truth Immortal Court? What's there to be afraid of? If worse comes to worst, we'll just hide and wait for Master to ascend to the Quasi-Emperor realm. Then we'll come out and destroy the Truth Immortal Court." Immortal King Qilin said proudly, but he could not hide his cowardice. Bang! Ling Xiao pointed his finger at the space between Murong Inshue's eyebrows, causing Murong Inshue's body to tremble as she fainted. "Senior, Zhao Hao asked hurriedly. "Don't worry. I've only knocked her out temporarily. There are some things she shouldn't know. Come with me." Ling Xiao smiled faintly. Then he swept Zhao Hao up with his sleeve and disappeared from the void. Buzz. The void rippled and space spread out. When Zhao Hao could see the scene before him clearly again, he had already arrived at a mysterious space. A huge immortal palace appeared in front of him. It looked mysterious and ethereal, and intimidating at first glance. In particular, the plaque above the immortal palace made Zhao Hao's entire body tremble. "Origin." This was the immortal palace of origin, the place of inheritance of the origin immortal emperor. "Come with me," Ling Xiao said coolly, then walked into the immortal palace of origin. Although Zhao Hao was shocked, he knew that this senior had no ill intentions towards him. Therefore, he hurried after him. The immortal palace of origin was majestic like an ancient and mysterious mountain. The closer he got, the more he realized how mysterious the immortal palace of origin was. The immortal palace of origin was like a vast world. He was full of admiration in his heart. He did not expect that the inheritance of the origin immortal emperor, which no one had discovered, would fall into the hands of this mysterious senior. Could it be that this senior was going to give him some benefits? A trace of anticipation grew in his heart. Chapter 34:18. Boom! A dazzling immortal sun stood high in the 9 heavens. Immortal light lingered around it, and chaotic fog rose as if there were countless mysterious scenes of the creation of the world. The river of time stopped here, and countless spaces intersected here. At the same time, there were scenes of billions of chaotic god fiends and countless fierce beasts fighting. There were also scenes of countless civilizations, making people see through the vicissitudes of time and countless eras. In the dazzling immortal sun, there seemed to be a mysterious and vast figure, surrounded by endless eternal worlds. With a thought, countless living beings would bow down and worship him. After seeing that immortal sun, even Zhao Hao couldn't help but want to bow down. In the origin immortal palace, there was only this dazzling immortal Sunday. It seemed to represent the origin of all things, and it evolved the birth and death of the heavens. Buzz! A mysterious immortal light spread out from Ling Zhao's body and enveloped Zhao Hao, preventing his mind from being taken away. He directly knelt down. "What is this?" Zhao Hao's face was extremely pale, and he said with some uncertainty. At the same time, he found that the dazzling immortal sun was trembling slightly, as if there was a strange fluctuation that wanted to fly toward Ling Xiao and merge into his body. However, Ling Xiao rejected it directly. The dazzling immortal sun even emitted an extremely aggrieved fluctuation. "This is the origin immortal emperor's eternal Tao spirit," Ling Xiao said slowly with a trace of sharpness in his eyes. "Eternal Tao spirit? There's actually such a supreme treasure. If those quasi-immortal emperors know about it, they'll probably go crazy to snatch it. Even immortal emperors can't be indifferent to the eternal Tao spirit." Zhao Hao sucked in a breath of cold air, and his eyes were filled with incomparable shock. Immortal emperors controlled the eternal heavenly Tao and nurtured the eternal Tao spirit in their bodies. The eternal Tao spirit was the fusion of the immortal emperor's cultivation, comprehension, origin, and heavenly Tao. Just like the golden core and nascent soul in a cultivator's body, it was incomparably precious. If a quasi-immortal emperor could refine the eternal Tao spirit, he might be able to comprehend the eternal heavenly Tao in it and directly enter the immortal emperor realm. And if an immortal emperor powerhouse could devour the eternal Tao spirit, he could also strengthen his heavenly Tao. This was a supreme treasure. However, Zhao Hao suddenly realized that this senior Ling Xiao was actually indifferent to the eternal Tao spirit. Previously, when the eternal Tao spirit wanted to fuse into his body, he had rejected it. "This eternal Tao spirit is useless to me. I've been meditating here for a while now. I've taken away Origin Immortal Emperor's insights and understanding of the Tao to verify my own understanding. I'll give you this eternal Tao spirit," Ling Xiao said slowly. Zhao Hao was instantly stunned by this sentence. Senior Ling Xiao actually didn't want the eternal Tao spirit and wanted to give it to him? Although he didn't know what level Senior Ling Xiao had reached, he understood that Senior Ling Xiao definitely hadn't touched the quasi-immortal emperor realm. He could not understand why Ling Xiao did not want the eternal Tao spirit. However, before Zhao Hao could say anything, Ling Xiao extended his hand and grabbed. Instantly, a huge palm covered the sky and directly grabbed the resplendent immortal sun, and then sent it into Zhao Hao's body. Rumble! A boundless immortal glow rose around Zhao Hao's figure. It felt like the flames of the immortal Tao were spreading inside his body. It turned into a scorching sea of fire and shrouded his entire body. The Eternal Way spirit contained vast and majestic origin energy. More importantly, the mysterious eternal laws of the heavenly way had all fused into Zhao Hao's body at this moment. All kinds of mysterious and unfathomable scenes appeared around Zhao Hao. Blue lotuses were growing in the chaos ocean, immortal emperors were standing high in the 9 heavens, billions of living beings were worshipping at the same time, ancient deities and demons were kowtowing to him. Zhao Hao was also immersed in the vast ocean of laws. He immediately entered a state of enlightenment. His cultivation began to improve by leaps and bounds. The origin ancient seal in his body seemed to have sensed something. It immediately floated out and appeared above Zhao Hao's head. It also began to merge with the vast origin force. Ling Zhao's eyes flickered. When he saw the origin ancient seal, his eyes were filled with amazement. At the same time, he also saw a faint shadow in the origin ancient seal. It was the second uncle. The Heavenly Emperor's seal had merged with the eternal immortal domain's origin and had become Zhao Ritian's lifelong treasure. In the future, it had the potential to become an eternal emperor weapon. It could be used as Zhao Ritian's Dao affirmation treasure. Even though he had been certain of this for a long time, after seeing the origin ancient seal, he was truly certain. He had found Zhao Ritian. After merging with the eternal Dao spirit, it will be much easier for him to break through to the immortal emperor realm in the future. If he wants to fully comprehend the eternal heavenly Dao, he will have to reach the eternal heavenly Dao and become a quasi-immortal emperor. However, as long as he's safe, that's enough. Ling Zhao's eyes were filled with relief as he looked at Zhao Hao in front of him. He and Zhao Ritian had been father and son in their previous lives. In his previous life, they had been best friends. In this life, he had found Zhao Ritian. His countless years of hard work had not been in vain. As for why he had not refined the eternal Dao spirit, it was because he had already obtained the origin sword and the origin scripture. The origin scripture was an immortal emperor scripture that pointed directly to the great Dao of immortal emperors. It was enough for him to see the origin immortal emperor's path. However, this was not the path he wanted to take. He did not want to follow the prescribed path and become an immortal emperor, a failure that even the truth immortal emperor could not defeat. Ling Xiao had an even greater ambition. If the immortal emperor realm was not the pinnacle of the immortal domain, why would he not surpass the immortal emperor realm? He was still the same Ling Xiao. He wanted to walk his own path of invincibility and cultivate his own invincible arts. Even the immortal emperor's legacy could not change him in the slightest. However, the origin immortal emperor's legacy could help Zhao Ritian avoid many detours. Boom! Zhao Hao's cultivation base broke through to the supremacy realm and continued to soar. First level supremacy realm. Second level supremacy realm. Third level supremacy realm. Ninth level supremacy realm. The supremacies of the eternal immortal domain were the pinnacle of the supremacy realm. Mortal supremacies could peer into the secrets of the laws. One more step and they would break through to the true immortal realm. The eternal Dao spirit contained a vast amount of origin energy that could have allowed Zhao Hao's cultivation to break through to the true immortal realm. However, Ling Xiao had still made his move. The world tree in his forehead sprinkled down mysterious world laws, suppressing Zhao Hao's breakthrough and keeping his cultivation base at the peak of the supremacy realm. Ling Xiao had hoped that Zhao Hao could polish his cultivation base a bit more before breaking through to the true immortal realm. The eternal Dao spirit slowly sank into Zhao Hao's body, tempering his body and causing him to undergo a subtle transformation. The strange phenomena around him slowly dissipated, and he opened his eyes. My cultivation base has reached the peak of the supremacy realm? I'm only a step away from the true immortal realm? Zhao Hao trembled, his eyes filled with disbelief. Chapter 34:19. I have suppressed the speed of your cultivation. Otherwise, with the eternal principle spirit, it would not be difficult for you to break through to the true immortal realm. Ling Xiao said with a smile. Thank you, Senior. Zhao Hao was extremely grateful. He knew that Ling Xiao was doing this for his own good. After all, the difference between a supreme being and a true immortal was the difference between an immortal and a true immortal. Any genius who wanted to break through to the eternal principle would carefully train himself in the supreme realm and accumulate an extremely strong foundation before breaking through to the true immortal realm. Ling Xiao had suppressed his cultivation to allow him to train himself and strengthen his foundation. However, Zhao Hao was even more curious and puzzled. Why was Ling Xiao so good to him? Perhaps you are curious why I gave you the eternal principle spirit? I can only say that you are an old friend of mine. Now that you have not awakened the memories of your past life, you will know when you awaken the innate wisdom. Ling Xiao seemed to know that Zhao Hao was puzzled and explained. An old friend? You are the Zhao Ritian that you mentioned? No matter what, I have to thank you for giving me such a good opportunity. I would like to be your disciple. Is that possible? Zhao Hao nodded with a hint of anticipation in his eyes. With his eyesight, how could he not see that Ling Xiao was extraordinary? Even the 3 celestial kings of the Truth Celestial Court had been easily killed by Ling Xiao. The Great Light Celestial King and the Azure Dragon Celestial King had died at Ling Xiao's hands. Ling Xiao would definitely become an immortal emperor in the future. He would be a supreme powerhouse in the eternal immortal realm in the future. Moreover, he could see that Ling Xiao was very good to him, so he wanted to be his disciple. Disciple? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with a strange look. If he really took Zhao Hao as his disciple, the relationship between him and Zhao Ritian would become more and more complicated. Father and son? Close friends? Master and disciple? What the hell was going on? If Zhao Hao awakened the memories of his past life, he would most likely regret this decision. Ling Xiao seemed to have a tinge of evil in his heart. He looked at Zhao Hao with a strange expression and nodded. All right, from now on, you are my disciple. Greetings, master. Zhao Hao, who was extremely nervous, was overjoyed when Ling Xiao agreed. He quickly knelt down and bowed. No need to be so courteous. I've offended the Truth Celestial Court, and your Zhao family is under the rule of the Truth Celestial Court. So, unless it's absolutely necessary, don't expose our relationship. Ling Xiao said slowly as he helped Zhao Hao up with a wave of his sleeve. Zhao Hao's heart went cold as he nodded in response. He knew that Ling Xiao was telling the truth. Since 3 immortal kings of the Truth Immortal Court had died here, the Truth Immortal Court would definitely not let this matter rest. Next, it might be the arrival of a half-immortal emperor. Even Zhao Hao couldn't help but tremble when he thought of the legendary supreme power of a quasi-immortal emperor. You have already obtained the inheritance of the origin immortal emperor. In the future, you can slowly refine the eternal Tao spirit and cultivate the origin scripture. The path to becoming an immortal emperor is already smooth. Now that this matter is over, we should also leave. I'll let the little Qilin send you out of the Hanging Sword Mountain's secret realm later. Ling Xiao said slowly. What about you, master? Where are you going? Zhao Hao hurriedly asked. He knew that the little Qilin Ling Xiao was referring to the Qilin Immortal King. However, he suddenly felt a little worried about Ling Xiao. The Truth Immortal Court was one of the top forces in the eternal immortal realm. It had dominated a region for countless eras and had many half-immortal emperors. Although Ling Xiao was strong, what would he do if he encountered a half-immortal emperor? Me? Of course, I'm going to meet the half-immortal emperor of the Truth Immortal Court. Ling Xiao said with a faint smile, and a trace of sharpness flashed in his eyes. What? The half-immortal emperor of the Truth Immortal Court? Zhao Hao's face was filled with shock. That's right. He's already here. You and the little Qilin go first. I've already told him that he will escort you out of the Hanging Sword Mountain's secret realm. Ling Xiao said with a faint smile, and then waved his sleeve. Crack. The void cracked open, and an incomparably vast divine power surged out. Zhao Hao was instantly sent to the Qilin Immortal King by Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao looked at the void with a trace of sharpness in his eyes. He had already sensed that an incomparably terrifying figure was about to arrive in the Hanging Sword Mountain's secret realm. That figure exuded an insufferably terrifying fluctuation, as if it could suppress eternity, sever time and space, destroy thousands of worlds, and wield the eternal laws. There was no doubt that it was a half-immortal emperor. All right, let's use this battle to show me the difference between a half-immortal emperor and me. Ling Xiao whispered to himself, and his eyes were extremely dazzling. In the next moment, he took a step forward and instantly rose to the 9 heavens. Outside the secret realm of the Hanging Sword Mountain, Zhao Yunyang, the immortal king patriarch of the Zhao family, stood in the void, his eyes filled with worry. This time, the trial of the Hanging Sword Mountain's secret realm was out of his control. He did not expect that the mysterious immortal king from the Chaos Sea would appear in the secret realm of the Hanging Sword Mountain and kill the Azure Dragon Immortal King. It was said that even the 3 great immortal kings of the Truth Immortal Court had died at his hands. He was extremely worried about Zhao Hao's safety, so he had come personally. Buzz. At this moment, the jade pendant on Zhao Yunyang's waist lit up. He had given Zhao Hao the same jade pendant. As long as Zhao Hao activated the jade pendant, he would be able to sense his aura. Was Zhao Hao about to leave the secret realm of the Hanging Sword Mountain? Zhao Yunyang suddenly became a little excited when he thought of this. Then, the void in front of him was silently torn apart, and a few figures appeared. It was Zhao Hao and Murong Inshue. However, beside Zhao Hao, there was a young man in a purple robe with an incomparably arrogant face, and an incomparably charming woman. What shocked Zhao Yunyang was that he could not see through the cultivation of the purple-robed young man and the charming woman. Greetings, Patriarch. Zhao Hao did not expect Zhao Yunyang to come personally. He quickly bowed to Zhao Yunyang. How? It's good that you're fine. These two are? Zhao Yunyang nodded with a smile. These two are Senior Qilin and Senior Huanma. They are my master's servants. Zhao Hao did not hide anything and told Zhao Yunyang everything that had happened in the secret realm of the Hanging Sword Mountain. The more Zhao Yunyang listened, the more shocked he became. His eyes were filled with shock when he heard that the mysterious celestial king Ling Xiao had killed 4 celestial kings with a single slash of his sword alone. When he heard that Ling Xiao had given the eternal Tao spirit to Zhao Hao and that Zhao Hao had obtained the inheritance of the Origin Celestial Emperor, he was even more shocked. While he was amazed by Zhao Hao's great fortuitous encounter, he was also filled with respect for Ling Xiao. By the way, Patriarch, this is something my master asked me to give you. It's a drop of blood essence from an emperor-grade celestial herb. It's enough to heal your Tao injuries and recover your cultivation base. Zhao Hao took out a white jade bottle and handed it to Zhao Yunyang respectfully. Old man, this is good stuff. Don't waste it recklessly. The purple-robed young man said with some dissatisfaction. He was the Qilin Celestial King, and the drop of blood essence came from him. If it were not for Ling Xiao's order, he would not have wasted his blood essence to save the old man. Thank you, fellow cultivator. Zhao Yunyang was shocked when he learned that the purple-robed young man was the emperor-grade celestial king Qilin. He took a deep breath and thanked the purple-robed young man. Rumble. At this moment, a terrifying aura descended in the secret realm of the Hanging Sword Mountain. The appearance of the aura caused all living beings within 100 million miles to tremble in fear. They could not help but want to kneel down and worship it. The mighty eternal heavenly might suppressed everything. The terrifying aura seemed to be able to destroy everything. Vaguely, a terrifying figure appeared in the secret realm of the Hanging Sword Mountain. The figure seemed to be holding up the chaos heaven and earth and wielded the eternal heavenly might. His aura was extremely terrifying. That's a boundary celestial emperor? Zhao Yunyang trembled and could not help but exclaim in shock. His face was filled with horror. He did not expect the boundary celestial emperor of the Truth Celestial Court to come so quickly. Zhao Hao's master, Ling Xiao, was in danger now, right? Chapter 3420. Above the secret realm of the Hanging Sword Mountain, a half-immortal emperor with a terrifying aura had arrived. His eyes were like immortal suns, blazing and resplendent. His body emitted a vast heavenly Tao might, suppressing the entire secret realm of the Hanging Sword Mountain, causing it to tremble violently. Ling Xiao, who was in the secret realm of the Hanging Sword Mountain, was completely locked down by an incomparably cold killing intent. "You're the one who killed the immortal kings of the Truth Immortal Court?" An indifferent voice exploded, like a divine thunder from the 9 heavens, resounding between heaven and earth. The quasi-immortal emperor stepped out, and chaotic light surged. The scene of endless worlds being born and destroyed around him seemed to have penetrated the long river of time and appeared above Ling Xiao's head. His face was incomparably indifferent, and he had a lofty posture. The killing intent in his eyes surged, containing an unfathomable pressure. "It's me. I thought it was a quasi-immortal emperor of the Truth Immortal Court, but I didn't expect it to be just a dharma body of a quasi-immortal emperor. It seems that the Truth Immortal Court really thinks highly of me," Ling Xiao said with a faint smile. Facing this quasi-immortal emperor dharma body in front of him, he didn't have the slightest fear. "One dharma body is enough to suppress you." The quasi-immortal emperor's eyes were incomparably cold. After confirming that it was Ling Xiao who killed the 3 immortal kings, he didn't waste any time and directly stomped down on Ling Xiao. Rumble. That foot contained endless power of wind and thunder, and the vast power of laws surged, causing the surrounding sky to seem as if it was about to collapse. A powerful suppressive force descended, sealing the void around Ling Xiao, not giving him the slightest chance to escape. This foot was incomparably fierce, domineering, and sharp at the same time. It was filled with contempt, as if he was treating Ling Xiao as an ant that he wanted to stomp on. Boom! Ling Xiao also didn't hesitate at all. Immortal light surged around his body, intertwining with the power of laws. Then he punched out. His physical body was incomparably strong. Although it was the body of an immortal king, it had been tempered in the chaos sea for countless years, devouring countless chaotic baleful qi, and at the same time, fusing with endless power of laws. Now, it wasn't an exaggeration to call it the body of laws. With the strength of his physical body alone, he could suppress a 9th heaven immortal king realm expert. His physical body was strong to the extreme, and he used strength to prove his Tao. Boom! The void trembled as Ling Xiao's fist imprint rose up like a celestial sun from the 9 heavens and collided with the foot imprint. For a time, immortal light filled the air, and the world fell silent. It was as if the sky was falling and the earth was splitting apart. The power of the collision was terrifying to the extreme. Just the aftermath of the collision was enough to annihilate billions of living beings. If the secret realm of the Hanging Sword Mountain was not left behind by the Origin Celestial Emperor, their attack would have destroyed the secret realm of the Hanging Sword Mountain. Even so, in the secret realm of the Hanging Sword Mountain, the mountains exploded and the ancient trees were annihilated. Everything seemed to be returning to chaos. In the end, Ling Xiao's fist and the footprint exploded at the same time. Boom! Ling Xiao's eyes were incomparably sharp. With a stomp of his feet, his entire body soared into the sky. His speed was extremely fast. In an instant, he was in front of the quasi-immortal emperor. Boundless power of laws intertwined on his fist light. In an instant, it turned into billions of fist imprints and blasted towards the quasi-immortal emperor's face. "You're courting death." The quasi-immortal emperor was furious. His eyes were filled with incomparably cold killing intent. Ling Xiao used his fist imprint to blast his face. It was the same logic as him wanting to crush Ling Xiao with his foot. It also represented disregard, arrogance, and humiliation. However, a mere immortal king dared to look down on a quasi-immortal emperor. He was simply courting death. He was instantly enraged. Rumble! Behind him, an endless sea of fire rose. In an instant, an immortal beast rose up like a giant dragon. It grew thousands of heads, and each head began to spurt out blazing divine light. That was the eternal fire. It was a destructive flame that ignited the eternal heavenly Tao law and could destroy everything. Even an immortal king expert would be burned to ashes if they were touched by a trace of it. The flaming immortal dragon flew across the sky. Streaks of divine light of flames wanted to sweep Ling Xiao up and pull him into the sea of fire. A divine light flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes. A jade-green branch seemed to fly out of his palm and lashed out at the flaming immortal dragon. Boom! The flaming immortal dragon exploded. The eternal fire was actually swallowed by the jade-green branch like a whale swallowing the sea. The jade-green branch contained endless vitality, sprinkling down a dazzling rain of light in the void. As long as the eternal fire was touched, it would be instantly absorbed and swallowed. Ling Zhao's incomparably fierce fist imprint was not blocked at all. In an instant, it arrived in front of the quasi-immortal emperor. Get lost! The quasi-immortal emperor's eyes were incomparably cold. He pushed out his arms, as if there were two blazing saber auras surging, wanting to destroy everything. Crack! Ling Zhao's fist imprint collided with the saber aura. Runes of laws intertwined and instantly shattered the saber aura. The aura around Ling Zhao was incomparably terrifying. His entire body emitted an invincible aura. Billions of fist intents overlapped at the same time, condensing into an invincible fist that could destroy all laws. Then, it directly blasted the quasi-immortal emperor's face. Crack! The quasi-immortal emperor's body shook violently. At this moment, his face actually cracked. Blood flowed out as he staggered back. You're courting death. The quasi-immortal emperor was shocked and angry. Incomparably cold killing intent surged in his eyes. He did not expect Ling Zhao to be able to hurt him at close range. The power contained in Ling Zhao's punch just now made him a little scared. Could it be the true power of the eternal heavenly Tao? The quasi-immortal emperor had only touched a trace of the power of laws. He could barely mobilize a trace of the power of laws to suppress his opponent. However, he did not expect Ling Zhao, a mere immortal king, to be able to erupt with such powerful combat strength and injure him. However, although he was a quasi-immortal emperor's dharma body, he still had boundless vitality and power. The injury on his face healed in an instant. However, the anger in his heart was completely ignited. Thousand Dragons Burning Heaven Immortal Technique. The quasi-immortal emperor suddenly shouted, killing intent rising from his body. Dragon roars shook the void in all directions. Behind the quasi-immortal emperor, endless immortal light intertwined. Immortal dragons with incomparably terrifying auras appeared one after another. They intertwined and condensed with each other, as if covering the sky and the sun, enveloping Ling Zhao in the center. An incomparably powerful killing force shattered everything. It was like a heavenly river pouring down, enveloping Ling Zhao's head. The endless immortal light transformed into flames. It was the fire of the eternal heavenly Tao. It was going to burn Ling Zhao completely. Buzz. At this moment, immortal light shone in Ling Zhao's palm, and the sky-swallowing sword instantly appeared. With the sky-swallowing sword in hand, his entire aura became incomparably fierce. Endless sword intent rose, and billions of sword light surged. It was as if he could slash this side of the world in an instant. Chapter 34:21. Although the battle between Ling Zhao and the quasi-immortal emperor took place in the secret realm of the Hanging Sword Mountain, the terrifying fluctuations spread out, causing the billions of living beings in the surrounding prefectures to tremble uncontrollably. Many mighty experts, perfected immortals, and even immortal kings revealed surprised and doubtful gazes as they extended their immortal senses. When they realized that someone was actually fighting with the quasi-immortal emperor of the Truth Immortal Court, they were all extremely shocked and their eyes were filled with disbelief. Especially Zhao Yunyang, who was in front of the secret realm of the Hanging Sword Mountain, witnessed this battle with his own eyes and was even more shocked. How? Oh, it seems that you're right. This fellow Taoist actually has the strength to fight with a quasi-immortal emperor. He's really a talented person. Zhao Yunyang said slowly. The gap between an immortal king and a quasi-immortal emperor was huge. Even if it was a ninth heaven immortal king expert, unless he had an eternal emperor weapon, it was almost impossible for him to fight with a quasi-immortal emperor. However, Ling Zhao broke this common sense. As an immortal king, he went against the flow and fought against a quasi-immortal emperor. He was not at a disadvantage at all and even showed signs of having the upper hand. Such heaven-defying battle prowess made Zhao Yunyang endlessly shocked. Old ancestor, my master is not a mortal. This quasi-immortal emperor of the truth immortal court is probably not his match. Zhao Hao said, his eyes filled with inexplicable confidence. Of course. What kind of person is my master? He is destined to become an immortal emperor in the future and be an invincible figure who controls the will of heaven. He is just a quasi-immortal emperor. He can kill him with a flip of his hand. Immortal King Qilin said proudly. Zhao Yunyang smiled and shook his head. He felt that although Ling Xiao was strong and could fight with a quasi-immortal emperor, it would not be so easy for him to kill a quasi-immortal emperor. Especially when he saw that the quasi-immortal emperor was forced to use the Thousand Dragons Burning Heaven Immortal technique. The Thousand Dragons Burning Heaven Immortal technique was a secret immortal technique of the Truth Immortal Court. Its power was unparalleled and could kill a perfected immortal king and even a quasi-immortal emperor. This quasi-immortal emperor could use the Thousand Dragons Burning Heaven Immortal technique. He was probably a core figure of the Truth Immortal Court. At this moment, Ling Xiao took out the sky-swallowing sword. With the devouring heaven sword in hand, Ling Xiao's entire aura changed drastically. Although he had not fused with the eternal Tao spirit, Ling Xiao had comprehended the Origin Sutra and cultivated one of the supreme sword techniques. 3 Swords of Origin. This was a supreme immortal emperor art created by the Origin Immortal Emperor. It contained the power of the Origin and was imprinted in the Origin Sword. After Ling Xiao obtained the Sword of Origin, cultivating the 3 Swords of Origin was naturally a piece of cake. Quelling chaos. Cutting path. Origin. These were the 3 Swords of Origin. Every single sword contained a myriad of variations, and they contained peerless might of slaughter. They were extremely formidable. Quell the chaos. Following Ling Xiao's shout, the heaven-devouring sword in his hand actually shone with a brilliant light at this moment. Boundless immortal light gushed forth as the heaven-devouring sword instantly traversed millions and millions of miles with extreme speed, slashing towards that quasi-immortal emperor. Once the sword was unleashed, the 8 directions were in chaos. This sword light was dazzling and resplendent to the extreme. It was as if it could annihilate all things, crush all worlds, and destroy all sources of chaos. In the face of this sword strike, even the quasi-immortal emperor's expression changed drastically. This was an immortal emperor art. He had never imagined that Ling Xiao would possess an immortal emperor's legacy and unleash such a terrifying sword art. Rumble. The sword chi swept through everything, and the flames that filled the sky were extinguished. The myriad dragon's incineration immortal art was so powerful that it seemed capable of incinerating all things, but in the face of this quelling sword, it was as if it were made of paper. If the quasi-immortal emperor hadn't been vigilant and dodged immediately, this sword strike would have left a mark on his body. Cutting path. Ling Xiao's eyes were incomparably deep, as if he was immersed in the boundless sword intent of the 3 Swords of Origin. The laws around him intertwined, and the heaven-devouring sword's light grew even more dazzling. The heaven-devouring sword soared into the sky, its sword light illuminating all directions. The sword slashed down from the sky like a divine rainbow, as if to completely annihilate the eternal immortal domains. The river of time and space appeared, and countless lives evolved. Even the scroll of civilization, the kingdom of truth, all things in the world, and even the eternal heavenly Tao would be completely annihilated by this sword strike. As the name implied, the cutting path severed the great Tao and the Origin. This sword strike was aimed directly at the quasi-immortal emperor's Origin, making it impossible for him to dodge. It was going to completely destroy him. Damn it! World of truth, suppress all things. The quasi-immortal emperor's expression was extremely ugly, but a hint of madness flashed in his eyes. Immortal light gathered around him, and the eternal heavenly Tao intertwined to form a scripture of truth around him. Countless scriptures of truth seemed to record countless civilizations, representing the truths of heaven and earth, and the laws that governed all things. They fused with each other, forming a world of truth that was formless and intangible, but could isolate all things. Boom! The cutting path fell, blazing sword light slicing through the void and crushing the world of truth. In an instant, silence reigned in all directions, and heaven and earth trembled. The world of truth blossomed with eternal light, protecting the quasi-immortal emperor within it like an eternal kingdom. However, the cutting path was so fierce that cracks appeared on the world of truth, and in the end, it collapsed with a loud bang. Origin. Ling Zhao's eyes were incomparably sharp, and the battle intent around him rose to the extreme. Before the quasi-immortal emperor could do anything, he had already performed the last sword strike. Origin was the origin of everything, and also the end of everything. This sword strike contained ethereal, chaotic, immortal light. Everywhere it went, everything returned to silence, and everything evolved into life again. In this alternation of silence and new life, the sword light silently released the most terrifying power, enveloping this part of heaven and earth. Rumble! The entire secret realm of Hanging Sword Mountain was trembling violently, as if it would collapse at any time. The quasi-immortal emperor didn't have time to turn around and dodge at all, or even use other defensive methods, and the sword arrived in front of him. Buzz! The sword light fell, and the quasi-immortal emperor's figure was like a porcelain doll, with cracks appearing on it. Then the immortal Tao origin was destroyed, and his aura was quickly extinguished. This sword strike was too strange and too terrifying. As a result, Ling Xiao felt that the strength in his body was about to be sucked dry. This is the inheritance of the origin immortal emperor? Very good. Outsider, I will remember you, and so will the celestial court of truth. Next, you will be pursued endlessly by the celestial court of truth. The quasi-immortal emperor took a deep look at Ling Xiao, and then directly shattered in the void, turning into a dazzling immortal light, and disappeared in front of Ling Xiao. This quasi-immortal emperor's dharma body was destroyed by Ling Xiao's sword strike. Chapter 34-22. Zhao Yunyang's eyes were filled with deep reverence. Although he'd overestimated Ling Xiao's strength, he hadn't expected him to be this strong. Even a quasi-immortal emperor had been slain by his sword. As an immortal king, he could go against all odds and slay a quasi-immortal emperor. Such power was enough to dominate the universe and shake the eternal immortal domains. Who could possibly stand up to him? Now that he thought about it, perhaps immortal King Qilin's words weren't just empty words. It wouldn't be long before a peerless immortal emperor was born in the eternal immortal domains. We're leaving. Old man, take good care of my master's disciple, or you'll be held responsible. Immortal King Qilin waved his hand at Zhao Yunyang and Zhao Hao. Then he and the phantasmal demon Immortal Herb concealed their auras, tore through the void, and teleported in Ling Zhao's direction. Forefather, although Master has slain a quasi-immortal emperor, the Truth Celestial Court won't let this matter rest, right? Although Zhao Hao was happy for Ling Xiao as well, he thought about it a little more. His eyes were filled with worry. That's right. The Truth Celestial Court has presided over the eternal immortal domains for countless epochs. They're one of the most ancient existences. Taoist Ling Zhao's actions will likely lead to them sending a true quasi-immortal emperor after him. Zhao Yunyang nodded and said, "Is there anything we can do?" Zhao Hao asked worriedly. "The only thing we can do is to keep our relationship with Taoist Ling Xiao a secret. From today onward, forget all of this. Return to your clan and cultivate diligently." Zhao Yunyang's eyes flashed. With a wave of his sleeve, he scooped up Zhao Hao, tore through the void, and headed for the Zhao family. Immortal King Qilin stored the phantasmal demon Immortal Herb in his inner world and revealed the majestic Qilin's true form, which lay obediently in front of Ling Xiao. "Where are we going, Master?" Immortal King Qilin asked. "To the Yi family in the ecliptic state. Commander Yi has found the whereabouts of another old friend of mine." Ling Zhao's eyes flashed as he spoke slowly. Commander Yi had just sent word that he'd found the whereabouts of a suspected emperor of Kunwu Mountain. Compared to the Chaos Master, Ling Xiao preferred to address him as the Kunwu Mountain Emperor. That was the only master he'd ever acknowledged. The ecliptic state? That didn't seem to be the domain of the Truth Immortal Court. It's a good opportunity for us to lie low for a while. Immortal King Qilin was slightly taken aback before he said with a smile. Then it got up, immortal light resplendent around its body, purple energy curling about. It directly tore through the void, moving through space, heading towards Ecliptic Province. The ecliptic state was hundreds of millions of miles away from here, separated by hundreds of large states. That place was no longer the territory of the Truth Immortal Court. Although the Qilin Immortal King seemed to be fearless, he was still very afraid of the people from the Truth Immortal Court in his heart. After all, this was an ancient power that had been powerful for several epochs. It was unknown how many quasi-immortal emperors they had, and all of their methods were innumerable. He even had an eternal emperor weapon like the Sword of Truth. Who would dare to provoke him? Although he was blindly arrogant and thought that his master was extremely talented and would definitely become an immortal emperor in the future, now was not the time to provoke the Truth Immortal Court. Therefore, the Qilin Immortal King worked very hard and continuously shifted in the direction of Huang Daozhou. Ecliptic State. Yi Liangshui, hand over the Divine Mountain's Dao Spirit in your hands. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. In an ancient city, an arrogant young man in a golden robe was riding on a flood dragon immortal beast. He stared down at Yi Liangshui and said condescendingly. Behind him, there was a group of guards with powerful auras. Some of them were young supremes with extraordinary talent. They were all true disciples of some Holy Land sect, and some were even holy sons. They had all become followers of the golden-robed young man. But I was the one who found the Divine Mountain's Dao Spirit first. What does it have to do with you? Li Chongqing, don't go too far. Yi Liangchen's expression was extremely ugly. He was originally ugly, but now he looked even worse. But based on the fact that you've lost to me, because your Yi family is only a subordinate of the Creation Immortal Court, because you are inferior to me, are you not convinced? If you are not convinced, you and I can fight in the life and death arena. If you can defeat me, I will give you the Divine Mountain's Dao Spirit. How about that? The young man in the golden robe sneered. His eyes were full of disdain. He was surrounded by immortal light and auspicious qi. His aura was unfathomable. He was also a true immortal expert. Furthermore, his status was extremely illustrious. He was the ninth prince, the current sovereign lord of the Creation Immortal Court. That was why so many young supreme beings from the everlasting families and ancient sects were willing to become his followers. On the other hand, Yi Liangchen's side was weak. There was only a burly but valiant woman beside him. Ninth Prince, why do you have to be so aggressive? Although my brother Yi Liangshui was inferior to you in the past, that doesn't mean he will be inferior to you in the future. He was the one who found the Divine Mountain's Dao Spirit first. If you really want to take it by force, aren't you afraid of bringing shame to the Sovereign Lord? If you really want to fight, why don't I do it with you? The woman said coldly. She was dressed in armor and surrounded by immortal light. She was also a true immortal expert and her aura was extremely powerful. In particular, she was holding a huge spiked club in her hand. It looked incomparably cold and intimidating. Xiong Ying, what's so good about this piece of trash? Why do you have to follow him so loyally? If you are willing to follow this prince will definitely bestow upon you an unparalleled fortune. Yi Liangshui, do you only dare to hide behind a woman? If you have some backbone, come out and fight with me. You are really a piece of trash. The ninth prince's eyes flickered. After he pulled the burly woman to his side, he immediately scolded Yi Liangshui. He knew the background of the burly woman. Even he was not willing to provoke her. She was the direct descendant of an ancient immortal emperor of the Creation Immortal Court. She was the eldest daughter of the Xiong family, Xiong Ying. She was extremely talented and had the legendary heaven-devouring immortal body. Her physical body was extremely strong and no one could defeat her. If they were to fight one-on-one, the ninth prince might not be able to defeat her. However, Xiong Ying and Yi Liangshui were engaged since they were young. Therefore, she always protected Yi Liangshui. Ninth Prince, forgive me for not giving you the Divine Mountain's Tao spirit. Xionging, let's go. Yi Liangshui's face was full of humiliation. However, he gritted his teeth and pulled Xionging away. The Divine Mountain's Tao spirit was his mysterious and powerful master, Ling Xiao. How could he dare to give it to the Ninth Prince? Moreover, when he saw the Ninth Prince, Yi Liangshui thought of the humiliation he had suffered and trembled with anger. Want to leave? Did I allow you to leave? The Ninth Prince sneered. A gray-robed elder behind him seemed to have received his signal. He stepped forward and blocked Yi Liangshui and Xionging. Immortal King? Yi Liangshui and Xionging were shocked and their expressions turned ugly. In order to seize the Divine Mountain's Tao spirit, the Ninth Prince had sent his guardian, a powerful immortal king, to attack. How shameless could he be? Chapter 34-23. Miss Xionging, this has nothing to do with you. I hope you won't get involved. If Yi Liangshui hands over the path spirit of the Divine Mountain, the Ninth Prince will not make things difficult for him. The gray-robed celestial king looked indifferent as his vast celestial king aura enveloped Xionging. This gray-robed celestial king was an extremely powerful celestial king of the Fortune Celestial Court. He was also the Ninth Prince's Tao protector. The moment he appeared, Xionging was suppressed to the point that he couldn't attack. The Ninth Prince's aura locked onto Yi Liangshui. Many people in the city revealed strange expressions at this moment. Some even despised the Ninth Prince, but no one dared to say anything. In order to snatch the path spirit of the Divine Mountain, the Ninth Prince had even summoned a celestial king guardian to suppress Xionging. However, they knew how precious the path spirit of the Divine Mountain was. The so-called path spirit was a spiritual object that was tainted with a trace of the eternal heavenly way's origin. The path spirit of the Divine Mountain was a path spirit that was born in a celestial mountain. Path spirits were extremely precious and were rarely seen in millions of years. They were all born in forbidden areas, ancient places of inheritance, broken worlds, and other places where people rarely went. If a path spirit was devoured directly, it could improve one's cultivation and enhance one's understanding of the eternal heavenly ways law. However, the most important thing about a path spirit was to integrate into a weapon. As long as a path spirit was integrated into a weapon and became the weapon's weapon spirit, the weapon would have unlimited potential to grow. It might even become an eternal emperor weapon in the future. Therefore, the Ninth Prince wanted to snatch the path spirit of the Divine Mountain from Yi Liangshui. He had even summoned his Tao protector. The path spirit of the Divine Mountain belongs to my master. I can't give it to you. Yi Liangshui gritted his teeth and refused. Although he knew that the Ninth Prince was arrogant and domineering, if he gave the path spirit of the Divine Mountain to the Ninth Prince, he would not be able to answer to Ling Xiao. Therefore, he would rather contradict the Ninth Prince than give the path spirit of the Divine Mountain to the Ninth Prince. Master? Yi Liangshui, you trash, you have a master? You are a disgrace to the Yi family. However, even if your master is a celestial king or even a celestial emperor, who dares to stop me? The Ninth Prince laughed heartily. His voice was filled with arrogance and dominance. Really? At this moment, an extremely indifferent voice sounded. The void seemed to have been torn apart by some kind of mighty force. Blazing immortal light blossomed as a vast and ancient aura gushed out, causing the surrounding void to tremble violently. An incomparably majestic purple qilin, surrounded by chaotic light and purple qi, descended from the sky, exuding a terrifying aura. On top of the purple qilin, there was also a figure in snow-white robes, surrounded by mysterious immortal light. Although the face could not be seen clearly, there was a kind of extraordinary and mysterious aura that was untainted by dust. What? He actually had an immortal king-level immortal beast as his mount? Who was this person? Could it be a quasi-immortal emperor? Not a half-immortal emperor, but an immortal king. Which clan's immortal king has arrived? Not good. It looks like he's going for the Ninth Prince. Everyone's bodies trembled as they discussed animatedly. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. The Qilin Immortal King's body was an emperor-grade immortal medicine. Although his aura was concealed, he looked incomparably majestic, like some legendary supreme immortal beast in the celestial world, causing people to be intimidated. With such a powerful Qilin Immortal King as his mount, everyone was even more curious about the identity of the visitor. "Master, you're finally here." When Yi Liangshui saw the figure on top of the Qilin Immortal King, his body trembled violently, and his eyes were filled with incomparable surprise. He originally thought that it would be difficult to escape from today's trouble, but he did not expect Ling Xiao to come so quickly. After seeing the Qilin Immortal King and Ling Xiao, the ninth prince's expression changed, revealing a trace of vigilance. When he heard Yi Liangshui call him master, he was even more shocked. Yi Liangshui's master was actually such a mysterious immortal king? "Who are you?" The ninth prince stared at Ling Xiao and asked. Ling Xiao did not even look at the ninth prince. His gaze landed on the Tao spirit of the divine mountain, revealing a hint of excitement and emotion. After countless years, he had finally found the emperor of the Kunwu mountain. However, what he did not expect was that the emperor of the Kunwu mountain was not as lucky as Zhao Ritian, who was able to enter the cycle of reincarnation and be reincarnated as a human. The emperor of the Kunwu mountain had actually become the Tao spirit of the divine mountain. The Tao spirit of the divine mountain was ignorant. He did not understand his past life and did not have this life. He could only attach himself to weapons or be devoured by others. Although all living things had spirits and could cultivate and evolve, if the Tao spirit of the divine mountain wanted to cultivate and even recover all of the emperor of the Kunwu mountain's memories, that would be the true defiance of the heavens and extremely difficult. "I've finally found you." Ling Xiao muttered softly to himself, then reached out his hand to grab the Tao spirit of the divine mountain. Yi Liangshui hurriedly handed over the Tao spirit of the divine mountain with both hands, handing it over to Ling Xiao. The Tao spirit of the divine mountain was a ball of purple light, enshrouded in a mysterious aura of origin, changing all kinds of mysterious and unpredictable scenes within. However, no matter how it changed, the true spirit of the emperor of the divine mountain did not change at all. Ling Xiao carefully kept it away. "You're courting death. Uncle Hui, kill him." When the ninth prince saw that Ling Xiao had ignored him and taken away the Tao spirit of the divine mountain, he immediately felt greatly humiliated. His eyes were filled with cold killing intent. He immediately said to the gray-robed immortal king, "Fellow Taoist, please hand over the Tao spirit of the divine mountain. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite." The gray-robed immortal king's eyes were indifferent as he stared at Ling Xiao and said, "Who do you think you are? How dare you threaten me?" Ling Xiao slowly raised his head and his gaze landed on the gray-robed immortal king. He was incomparably sharp and domineering. He did not show any mercy and directly berated him. He had already understood everything from Yi Liangshui's explanation. If he had come a step later, wouldn't the Tao spirit of the divine mountain fall into the hands of this so-called ninth prince? Naturally, he did not have any good expression. "You're courting death." Killing intent flashed in the eyes of the gray-robed immortal king. He stretched out his claws in the air and directly grabbed at Ling Xiao. Boom! The immortal light was blazing and dazzling. The sharp claw light could tear through the void like a true dragon stretching out its claws, wanting to tear Ling Xiao apart. "Get lost!" A cold light flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes as he directly threw out a punch. Immortal light rose around his body as runes intertwined. It was as if there were immortal chains of order intertwining around his body. The terrifying strength of his physical body completely erupted as a chaotic fist mark collided with the gray-robed immortal king. Chapter 34-24. Boom! Heaven and earth shook, and the void in all directions was filled with an incomparably terrifying aura. A loud explosion was heard. Ling Xiao did not move at all, but the gray-robed immortal king opposite him was sent flying by his punch. What? Everyone's bodies trembled. This was especially true for the ninth prince, Li Changxing. His eyes were filled with disbelief. This gray-robed immortal king was his protector. He was extremely powerful and had already reached the peak of the immortal king realm. It was said that he was only half a step away from the quasi-immortal emperor realm. He was extremely powerful and had once killed a few ninth-layer immortal kings. Now, he was actually defeated by Ling Xiao with a single punch. His expression immediately turned extremely ugly. "Kill!" The gray-robed immortal king roared. In his eyes, there seemed to be a mysterious scene of the galaxy reversing and the sun and moon hanging upside down. His body was surrounded by dazzling starlight as a black longsword appeared in his palm. The sword chi was extremely sharp, causing his aura to instantly change. He sensed that Ling Xiao was extremely powerful, so he did not hesitate at all and instantly used his most powerful killing move. As the ninth prince's protector, he had to nip all threats to the ninth prince in the bud. Therefore, he did not hesitate at all and directly made his move. A blazing and dazzling sword light slashed down at Ling Xiao's head as if it had instantly split heaven and earth. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed sharply as he sensed the murderous intent of the gray-robed immortal king. His body was also surrounded by a murderous aura as anger surged in his heart. The heaven-devouring sword appeared in his palm. A sword light soared into the sky and faced the immortal king at the same time. The sword light seemed to be able to penetrate reality and the void. It contained an unparalleled power of laws that wanted to completely occupy everything. Vaguely, it seemed as if an invincible figure that pierced through the nine heavens had appeared, wanting to completely change the origin of the rat immortal king. This was the Tao-severing art of the three swords of origin. It could sever the origin of the great Tao and was extremely sharp. In the void, the sword light was destroyed with a loud bang. The gray-robed immortal king's sword contained pure killing intent, but it was destroyed by the Tao-severing art. Even the black immortal sword in the gray-robed immortal king's hand instantly shattered. Puchi. A beam of blood radiated out as a huge wound appeared on the chest of the gray-robed immortal king. His entire person seemed to be cleaved into two as his aura instantly weakened. At the same time, he was sent flying and smashed into the ground in the distance, coughing up blood. He was completely defeated. Furthermore, he was heavily injured by Ling Xiao's sword. A baleful aura gushed forth from Ling Xiao. With the heaven-devouring sword in his hand, he stepped out, wanting to slay the gray-robed immortal king. At this moment, Li Changxing seemed to have been scared out of his wits. His face was extremely pale and his eyes were filled with terror. Yi Liangshui, on the other hand, was incomparably excited. Although he knew that Ling Xiao was powerful, he didn't expect Ling Xiao's strength to become so terrifying. Even a peak immortal king was defeated by his sword and almost died under his sword. However, when Yi Liangshui saw that Ling Xiao was about to kill the gray-robed immortal king, he hesitated and wanted to dissuade him. After all, the Fortune Immortal Court was a giant in the immortal realm. They were extremely powerful and even had many quasi-immortal emperors. If Ling Xiao killed the protector of the ninth prince, it would cause unnecessary trouble. Gotcha. At this moment, the space above the void seemed to be torn apart by a powerful force. Blazing starlight rose and the Tao flower was ethereal and mysterious. The surrounding sky trembled at the same time. A mysterious and vast pressure shrouded the land within a radius of 10,000 miles. Above the nine heavens, a figure with a terrifying aura appeared. The figure flashed and instantly blocked Ling Xiao's path. It was a middle-aged man in a golden dragon robe, a flat crown on his head, and golden boots on his feet. His aura was majestic and mysterious. He was a quasi-immortal emperor. Ling Xiao's eyes shone brightly as he revealed a trace of vigilance. He didn't expect a quasi-immortal emperor to arrive so quickly. It seemed like this quasi-immortal emperor was related to the Fortune Immortal Court. Ling Xiao clenched the sky-devouring sword in his hand. Battle intent surged in his eyes and he showed no signs of backing down. Upon seeing this middle-aged man, the ninth prince, who had been scared silly, immediately became overjoyed. His eyes were filled with excitement and excitement. "Greetings, royal uncle." The ninth prince hurriedly stepped forward and bowed. After bowing, the ninth prince stood up again and pointed at Ling Xiao with incomparable resentment. "Royal uncle, this is the person who spoke rudely to me and even wanted to kill me. He simply doesn't put our immortal court in his eyes. This kind of arrogant and conceited person must be completely eliminated to prevent future troubles." The surrounding people looked at Ling Xiao with a trace of sympathy. The quasi-immortal emperor of the Fortune Immortal Court had arrived. They were afraid that this mysterious immortal king would be in trouble. Although Ling Xiao was powerful, in their opinion, he was no match for a quasi-immortal emperor. If the quasi-immortal emperor attacked, Ling Xiao would be completely suppressed in an instant. Slap. A crisp sound rang out. Then, the ninth prince's miserable cry rang out. In an instant, everyone was shocked. No one had expected that the arrival of this quasi-immortal emperor would actually send the ninth prince flying with a single slap. Boom! The ninth prince's body landed heavily on the ground dozens of meters away. Half of his face swelled up instantly. A mouthful of teeth fell out and blood splattered everywhere. His eyes were filled with disbelief. Then, the quasi-immortal emperor smiled warmly and cupped his fists at Ling Xiao. He asked, "May I ask if you are fellow Taoist Ling Xiao?" Ling Xiao was slightly stunned. He thought he would have to fight with the quasi-immortal emperor. He did not expect the quasi-immortal emperor to take the initiative to show his goodwill. Ling Xiao's expression did not change. He nodded and said, "That's me." As expected, it's fellow Taoist Ling Xiao. "My nephew is arrogant and domineering. I don't know how he offended fellow Taoist Ling Xiao. I hope fellow Taoist Ling Xiao will not lower yourself to his level since he is still young. I will bring him back and discipline him well." The quasi-immortal emperor smiled at Ling Xiao. "Royal uncle, why are you doing this to me? He is the one who wants to kill me." The ninth prince hurriedly asked as he ran over from afar. His eyes were filled with disbelief. "Shut up and kneel down." The quasi-immortal emperor scolded coldly. A powerful aura pressed down on the ninth prince, causing him to tremble. His eyes were filled with fear as he knelt down in front of Ling Xiao. He did not dare to say another word when he saw that his royal uncle was completely enraged. However, his heart was still filled with confusion. Why did his royal uncle protect this unfamiliar immortal king? Could it be that Ling Xiao was related to his royal uncle? The moment he thought of this, his heart became even more terrified. "Fellow Taoist Ling Xiao, this is a supreme treasure that I have kept for a long time. It's called the Gung Metal Tao Spirit. If this treasure is merged with the ancient sword in your hand, it will definitely transform your ancient sword. Take this treasure as my apology. I wonder if it's possible?" The middle-aged quasi-immortal emperor smiled at Ling Xiao. His expression was sincere. "Sure." Ling Xiao pondered for a moment and nodded. The half-immortal monarch seemed to be very sincere. Not only did he teach the ninth prince a lesson by forcing him to kneel before him, he even took out such a precious artifact to ease the tension between them. Ling Xiao naturally gave him some face and expressed that he would not pursue the matter any further. After all, the Fortune Immortal Court was one of the supreme giants in the celestial realm. If it was not necessary, Ling Xiao would not want to offend them. "Thank you, brother Ling Xiao. Since that's the case, I'll set up a banquet in the Flying Immortal restaurant in this ecliptic ancient city and invite you to have a few drinks. What do you think?" The quasi-immortal emperor smiled faintly. His way of addressing Ling Xiao had also changed slightly. Before Ling Xiao could say anything, Yi Liangshan quickly transmitted a message to Ling Xiao. "Master, please accept his invitation. This quasi-immortal emperor is called Li Qingyun. He is the younger brother of the current sovereign lord of the Fortune Immortal Court. He has great authority in the Fortune Immortal Court and is extremely powerful. If we can build a good relationship with him, he might be able to help us fight against the Truth Immortal Court." Ling Xiao's heart skipped a beat and he nodded. He glanced at Li Qingyun and said slowly, "Since brother Qingyun has invited me, it would be impolite of me to decline." Everyone in the surroundings revealed an incomparably shocked expression. They had never thought that this green cloud quasi-celestial emperor would be so courteous to an unfamiliar celestial king. One should know that the quasi-immortal Emperor Qing Yun was the younger brother of the current sovereign lord of the Fortune Immortal Court. He had great authority and was said to be very arrogant. He was an influential figure. Not to mention celestial kings, even an ordinary quasi-immortal emperor would not be able to make him bow down. They were even more curious about Ling Zhao's identity. Chapter 34-25. Ecliptic Ancient City, Flying Celestial Pavilion. Outside the window was a huge river that stretched for 10,000 miles. Huge waves surged violently, and it looked extremely majestic. Ling Xiao and Li Qingyun sat opposite each other. Both of them were sizing each other up. Ling Xiao could sense that the quasi-celestial emperor in front of him was extremely powerful. He was not someone an ordinary quasi-celestial emperor could compare to. However, such a powerful figure would actually lower himself to befriend him. This caused Ling Xiao to feel rather puzzled in his heart. "Brother Ling Xiao, are you puzzled as to why I'm so friendly to you?" The quasi-celestial emperor seemed to have seen through Ling Xiao's doubts and smiled. "That's right." Ling Xiao nodded. "Brother Qing Yun, you're a big shot in the creation celestial court. You're powerful and influential. Not to mention celestial kings, even ordinary quasi-celestial emperors are not worthy of your attention. May I know what's so special about me that makes you treat me differently?" Ling Xiao did not hide anything from the quasi-celestial emperor and expressed his doubts. "Brother Ling Xiao, you'll understand once you see this." The quasi-celestial emperor smiled. A light flashed in his palm, and a mysterious token that was intertwined with Tao and truth appeared. Ling Xiao took the token and extended a strand of his divine sense. He immediately sensed the contents of the token. It turned out that the Truth Celestial Court wanted to capture Ling Xiao's whereabouts within a few thousand prefectures. Anyone who could kill Ling Xiao or provide information about his whereabouts would be rewarded with an immortal emperor's secret. This is the Truth Celestial Court's wanted order? "Brother Qing Yun, why don't you just kill me and send me to the Truth Celestial Court to exchange for the immortal emperor's secret?" Ling Xiao smiled faintly. "Brother Ling Xiao, there's something you don't know." The quasi-celestial emperor shook his head. The Creation Celestial Court and the Truth Celestial Court are old enemies. In the past, the Creation Celestial Court's ancestor, the Creation Celestial Emperor, fought side by side with the Truth Celestial Emperor. However, the Truth Celestial Emperor betrayed the Creation Celestial Emperor in the end, causing the Creation Celestial Emperor to suffer an unimaginable injury. In recent years, the Creation Celestial Court has declined, and our strength has become weaker. On the other hand, although the Truth Celestial Court did not have an immortal emperor, it has become more prosperous and powerful. As the saying goes, "The enemy of my enemy is my friend." How could I possibly send Taoist Ling Xiao to the Celestial Court of Truth? The green cloud quasi-immortal emperor smiled and said without hiding anything. In fact, there were still some things that he had not told Ling Xiao. Based on what he knew, Ling Xiao was extremely powerful. Not only had he killed 4 immortal kings with a single sword strike, he had even destroyed the Dharma body of a quasi-immortal emperor from the Truth Immortal Court. Moreover, Ling Xiao seemed to have obtained the Origin Celestial Emperor's inheritance and the Eternal Emperor weapon, the Sword of Eternity. If Ling Xiao was weak, the Green Cloud Quasi-Immortal Emperor would not mind killing Ling Xiao and even snatching the Origin Immortal Emperor's inheritance. However, Ling Xiao's strength was very strong. Being able to kill a quasi-immortal emperor's Dharma body meant that he already had the battle prowess of a quasi-immortal emperor. In addition, he had the Sword of Origin in his hand. It was impossible for 1 or 2 quasi-immortal emperors to take Ling Xiao down. Therefore, after much consideration, the Green Cloud Quasi-Celestial Emperor decided to befriend Ling Xiao and did not attack him. Of course, he would not say this to Ling Xiao. So that's how it is. The Truth Immortal Court is arrogant and despotic. I killed 5 of their immortal kings and even destroyed the Dharma body of a quasi-immortal emperor. It's naturally not hard to understand why they would want to arrest me. Brother Green Cloud, thank you for telling me this. The grudge between me and the Truth Immortal Court will come to an end sooner or later. Ling Xiao said indifferently, but there was a trace of coldness in his eyes. He did not provoke the Truth Immortal Court, but the Truth Immortal Court had repeatedly provoked him. Now, they had even issued an arrest warrant in the Eternal Immortal Domain. Ling Xiao was naturally filled with killing intent. When his strength increased and he broke through to the quasi-immortal Emperor realm, he would not mind teaching the Truth Immortal Court a lesson. Brother Ling Xiao, have you heard of the Heavenly Dao Ancient Battlefield? The Green Cloud Quasi-Immortal Emperor smiled and changed the topic. Heavenly Dao Ancient Battlefield? I've never heard of it. Ling Xiao was slightly taken aback and said doubtfully, the Heavenly Dao Ancient Battlefield is an incomparably ancient battlefield. It's said that its origin can be traced back to countless eras ago. It's a place where several ancient immortal emperors of the immortal world quelled the dark turmoil. Not only are there inheritances of supreme experts in the Heavenly Dao Ancient Battlefield, but there are also dark creatures and all kinds of heavenly treasures that are difficult to find in the immortal domain. If you can enter the Heavenly Dao Ancient Battlefield, although there will be danger, there will also be great opportunities. In particular, there's an incomparably unique supreme treasure called the Eternal Fruit. If you swallow the Eternal Fruit, there's a chance to nurture the Heavenly Dao seed in your body. At that time, with your cultivation and accumulation, you'll naturally be able to break through to the quasi-immortal Emperor realm. The Green Cloud Quasi-Immortal Emperor explained. I see. Brother Green Cloud, did you tell me about the Heavenly Dao Ancient Battlefield because you want me to enter it? Ling Zhao's eyes flashed and he smiled faintly. That's right. The Green Cloud Quasi-Immortal Emperor nodded and said with a sincere expression. The Heavenly Dao Ancient Battlefield opens once every 1,000,000 years. Every time the Heavenly Dao Ancient Battlefield opens, a few celestial courts will enter to kill the dark creatures. This also involves the bet between the Creation Celestial Court and the Truth Celestial Court. Every time the Heavenly Dao Ancient Battlefield opens, the Creation Celestial Court and the Truth Celestial Court will make a bet. If one of us loses, we'll give the other party 100 prefectures. Brother Ling Xiao, I'm not afraid that you'll laugh at me. In the past 3 times the Heavenly Dao Ancient Battlefield opened, our Creation Celestial Court has lost to the Truth Celestial Court. We've lost close to 300 prefectures, which is billions of miles of territory. Now, the Creation Celestial Court is only left with 700 prefectures. If we lose again, the Creation Celestial Court will become weaker and the Truth Celestial Court will become stronger. I'm afraid that one day, the Creation Celestial Court will be annihilated and devoured by the Truth Celestial Court. The Green Cloud Quasi-Immortal Emperor smiled bitterly. You want me to enter the Heavenly Dao Ancient Battlefield to help the Creation Celestial Court win? Ling Zhao's eyes flashed as he said indifferently. That's right. The Green Cloud Quasi-Immortal Emperor nodded. He did not hide his thoughts at all. I'll need some time to think about it. Ling Xiao pondered for a moment before he said slowly. He could not just enter the Heavenly Dao Ancient Battlefield to help the Creation Celestial Court based on the Green Cloud Quasi-Immortal Emperor's words alone. He had to understand the situation carefully before he could make a decision. I understand. Here are some details about the Heavenly Dao Ancient Battlefield. Brother Ling Xiao, you can take your time to learn about it. After all, there's still some time before the Heavenly Dao Ancient Battlefield opens. If Brother Ling Xiao is willing to enter the Heavenly Dao Ancient Battlefield and help the Creation Celestial Court, we'll do our best to help Brother Ling Xiao obtain the Eternity Fruit. The Green Cloud Quasi-Immortal Emperor smiled and handed a jade talisman to Ling Xiao. Then, he chose to bid farewell and left with the 9th prince. Yiliang Shui, what do you think about the Heavenly Dao Ancient Battlefield? Ling Zhao's eyes flashed as he looked at Yiliang Shui and asked. Master, the Green Cloud Quasi-Immortal Emperor didn't lie. The Heavenly Dao Ancient Battlefield is indeed very mysterious. It's a rare secret realm that opens once every 1,000,000 years. However, it's always occupied by the super forces like the Celestial Court. Ordinary people can't enter at all, let alone obtain the Eternity Fruit. I feel that Master can consider entering and help the Immortal Court obtain victory. After all, there are restrictions in the Heavenly Dao Ancient Battlefield. experts above the quasi-immortal emperor realm are unable to enter. Only immortal kings and true immortals can enter and compete. With master strength, you'll definitely be able to defeat the celestial kings and true immortals of the Truth Celestial Court, Yi Liangshui said with a smile. He was full of confidence in Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao nodded noncommittally. He separated a wisp of his divine consciousness and sank it into the jade talisman in his palm. He began to read some information about the Heavenly Tao ancient battlefield. He had to understand it thoroughly before he could make a decision. The quasi-immortal emperor's information was very detailed. Although it did not involve the most confidential information, it was about the creation celestial court's exploration and development of the Heavenly Tao ancient battlefield over the years. The Heavenly Tao ancient battlefield was an extremely mysterious place in the eternal immortal domains. It didn't exist in the eternal immortal domains, but rather on the border. Outside of the eternal immortal domains was the boundless chaos sea, the chaotic void, and the planets and continents created by other living beings. The greatest threat to the eternal immortal domains was the creatures of darkness. No one knew where they came from, but they were incredibly powerful. It was said that even celestial emperors had died at their hands. The creatures of darkness were constantly trying to invade the eternal immortal domains, and the Heavenly Tao ancient battlefield was one of their entry points. It was a crack in the eternal immortal domains that allowed them to invade the Heavenly Tao ancient battlefield and enter the eternal immortal domains. Therefore, every million years, the Heavenly Tao ancient battlefield was the place where the experts of the eternal immortal domains and the dark forest clashed. Because of its unique location, the Heavenly Tao ancient battlefield nurtured some extremely rare natural treasures. This was especially true of the Fruit of Eternity. It was said that the Fruit of Eternity absorbed a sliver of the essence of the eternal Heavenly Tao. It was a mysterious fruit that could allow an immortal king to nurture a Heavenly Tao seed and break through to the celestial emperor level. Ling Zhao's cultivation base was already at the peak of the immortal king realm. According to his current cultivation speed, he would need at least countless years of accumulation before he could condense the immortal Tao seed in his body and break through to the quasi-immortal emperor realm. If he could get his hands on the Fruit of Eternity, it would shorten the time needed to break through to the celestial emperor level. Chapter 34-26. After reading the jade talisman left behind by the Qing Yun quasi-immortal emperor, Ling Xiao realized that the heavenly ancient battlefield was indeed mysterious. Although it was full of danger, it was also full of opportunities and opportunities. The Qing Yun quasi-immortal emperor did not hide anything from him. If he wanted to break through to the quasi-immortal emperor realm, the fastest way was to go to the heavenly ancient battlefield and find the eternity fruit. Ling Xiao was tempted by the thought of this. However, he was not in a hurry to reply to the Qing Yun quasi-immortal emperor. His palm glowed and the Shinshan Dao spirit appeared. His eyes were filled with memories. He did not expect the Emperor Lord of Kunwu Mountain to become the Shinshan Dao spirit. The Shinshan Dao spirit was a rare treasure that could help one to comprehend the Dao and even upgrade weapons. It was extremely mysterious. However, it was extremely difficult for it to develop self-consciousness. There was only a glimmer of hope if the Shinshan Dao spirit could cultivate to the quasi-immortal emperor realm. Master, I heard that the eternity fruit can help one to form the heavenly Tao seed and break through to the quasi-immortal emperor realm. It can also help spiritual beings of heaven and earth to develop their intelligence and increase their origin and foundation. If the Shinshan Dao spirit can consume an eternity fruit, he might be able to develop self-consciousness and even awaken the memories of his past life. Yi Liangshui knew the origin of the Shinshan Dao spirit and the relationship between Ling Xiao and the Emperor Lord of Kunwu Mountain. What? Ling Xiao shuddered and immediately rose to his feet. This news caused him to be unable to remain calm any longer. If the eternity fruit could help the Shinshan Dao spirit awaken self-consciousness and even awaken the memories of his past life, he would definitely go to the heavenly ancient battlefield. Swoosh. At this moment, a dazzling starlight came from afar and landed in front of Ling Xiao. It turned into an illusory figure. It was the Qing Yun quasi-immortal emperor. Brother Ling Xiao, Something big has happened in the Fortune Immortal City. I have to go back to settle it. If you're willing to go to the heavenly ancient battlefield, please come to the Fortune Immortal City and meet me there." The Qing Yun quasi-immortal emperor shattered into a dazzling light and disappeared after saying this. This was the message that the Qing Yun quasi-immortal emperor left for Ling Xiao. His true body had already left the ecliptic ancient city with the ninth prince and headed to the Fortune Immortal City. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with light. He didn't know what had happened in the Fortune Immortal City that made the green cloud quasi-celestial emperor leave in such a hurry. He didn't even have the time to bid farewell to him. However, no matter what, he had already decided to go to the heavenly Dao ancient battlefield. Ling Xiao did not head to the Fortune Immortal City immediately. Instead, he booked a courtyard in the Flying Immortal Tower and went into seclusion to cultivate. The Green Cloud Quasi-Immortal Emperor had given him a gung-metal Dao spirit. If he could integrate it into the Heaven-Devouring Sword, it would definitely increase the power of the Heaven-Devouring Sword greatly. In the future, it would not be impossible for it to be upgraded to the level of an Eternal Emperor weapon. Ling Xiao was in seclusion in the courtyard, fusing the gung-metal Dao spirit and the heaven-swallowing sword into one, while the Qilin Immortal King and Yi Liangshui were protecting Ling Xiao in the courtyard. A month later, Ling Xiao exited seclusion. "Let's go to the Fortune Immortal City." Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he spoke slowly. The Fortune Immortal City was the capital of the Fortune Immortal Court. There were countless experts at the true Immortal and Immortal King realm. There were even many quasi-immortal emperors. When the Qilin Immortal King and Yi Liangshui heard this, they were both surprised and overjoyed. Their eyes were filled with excitement. Especially Yi Liangshui, who could finally return to his family. Returning to the Yi family made him excited and nervous at the same time. Swoosh! The Qilin Immortal King instantly leaped up and tore through the void with Ling Xiao. They quickly teleported in the direction of the Fortune Immortal City. As the capital of the Fortune Immortal City, the Fortune Immortal City was naturally the most majestic and magnificent immortal city in the entire Fortune Immortal Court. From afar, it looked like a huge and dazzling star that floated in the nine heavens. The sun was scorching and dazzling, and auspicious qi rose. Strands of origin energy intertwined with each other, and there were runes and divine chains circling around. The Fortune Immortal City contained layers upon layers of formations that were set up by immortal emperors. Its power was extremely terrifying. Even if an immortal emperor came personally, it would be difficult for him to gain any benefits. The Fortune Immortal City spanned 1,000,000 miles. It was surrounded by pavilions, terraces, and immortal palaces, floating immortal mountains, and a sea of clouds. It looked majestic and mysterious. Ling Xiao rode on the Qilin Immortal King and arrived at the Fortune Immortal City. He could not help but exclaim in admiration when he felt the terrifying aura emanating from the Fortune Immortal Court. Although immortal kings were strong, they were still as insignificant as ants in front of the Fortune Immortal City. This was the power of the Fortune Immortal Court. This was the foundation of a superpower that had dominated the eternal immortal domain for countless eras. On both sides of the huge city gate, there were many guards wearing immortal armor and surrounded by immortal light. They were guarding the city with cold gazes. Those city guards were all true immortal realm experts, and the leader was a commander realm expert who had even reached the immortal king realm, causing people to be intimidated at the sight of him. To enter the Fortune Immortal City, one had to pay a certain amount of immortal source stones. Ling Xiao and the Qilin Immortal King followed behind the long queue and paid some immortal source stones to enter the Fortune Immortal City. The Fortune Immortal City was extremely lively and prosperous. As far as the eye could see, the streets crisscrossed and stretched for millions of miles. There were many shops on both sides of the wide streets. Some immortal Dao experts dressed as waiters and waiters were shouting at the entrance. There were also many hawkers who had set up stalls on both sides of the street, selling all kinds of rare treasures. Ling Xiao felt as if he had arrived at a mortal city. "Master, this is the Fortune Immortal City. It is the supreme immortal court founded by immortal Emperor Fortune. In ancient times, It was said to be the overlord of the eternal immortal domain. However, after so many years, the Fortune Immortal Court has declined and is no longer as glorious as it was in the past. Yi Liangshui explained slowly. I see. I wonder what kind of person Immortal Emperor Fortune was. Ling Xiao nodded as a look of longing appeared in his eyes. He had learned a lot about the Fortune Immortal Court over the past few days. Immortal Emperor Fortune was said to be extremely powerful in the past. He had many Immortal Emperor Realm experts under his command. He had dominated the eternal immortal domain and was invincible in both heaven and earth. That was the supreme expert who had once suppressed the Dark Age, annihilated countless dark creatures, and established the immortal court of creation. Legend had it that even the Truth Immortal Emperor was once a subordinate of Immortal Emperor Fortune. However, the Truth Immortal Emperor betrayed Fortune and severely injured him. As a result, the Fortune Immortal Court and the Truth Immortal Court were mortal enemies. Master, the Fortune Immortal Court's Emperor clan has always had a good reputation. They are incomparably humble, and there are very few arrogant and domineering people among them. An arrogant person like the Ninth Prince, Li Changxing, was actually a heretic. Master, if you want to cooperate with them, you don't have to worry about being tricked. Yi Liangshui reminded him. I understand. Let's go to the Green Cloud Immortal Palace and find the Green Cloud Quasi-Immortal Emperor. Ling Xiao nodded and let Yi Liangshui lead the way to the Green Cloud Immortal Palace. Rumble. Suddenly, heaven and earth shook violently, and the streets trembled violently. From the city gate in the distance, a group of iron horsemen charged through the streets. It was unknown how many people had been killed or crippled by the collisions. It was a group of giant flood dragons covered in black scales. Their bodies were dazzling with starlight, and their auras were extremely powerful. They had actually reached the true immortal realm. On the backs of the giant flood dragons were a group of women in red armor. Each of them was valiant and had a cold expression on their faces, as if they were superior. In particular, the leader of the group was a woman with a voluptuous figure. Her face was as cold as ice, and she was extremely arrogant. Her skin was as white as snow, and she held a long red whip in her hand. She kept whipping the giant flood dragons as she charged forward. Instantly, the people on the streets were thrown off their horses. The pedestrians on the streets dodged, and their eyes were filled with anger and awe. It's actually this arrogant and domineering young princess? Everyone get out of the way. Otherwise, we won't be able to seek justice even if we die. Sigh, this young princess is the second prince's younger sister. The second prince is now like the sun in the midday sky in the celestial court of creation. His talent is superb, and he even has the potential to surpass the crown prince. This young princess is also becoming more and more arrogant and domineering. What can we do? It's all because the emperor is severely injured, and the crown prince and the second prince are fighting to the death for the throne. The celestial court of creation is also in a precarious situation. Isn't that so? Who knows when the celestial court of creation will be destroyed by the celestial court of truth? A group of onlookers discussed animatedly, and their eyes were filled with resentment as they looked at the young princess in red armor. The steel torrent was extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye, they were in front of Ling Xiao. Get lost. The young princess suddenly shouted, and the red whip in her hand lashed out at Ling Xiao. A cold light flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes, and he glanced at Yi Liangshui indifferently. Yi Liangshui immediately looked embarrassed. He had just said that the reputation of the monarch race in the celestial court of creation was very good, and there were very few arrogant and domineering people. Who would have thought that he would be slapped in the face by this young princess in the blink of an eye? Ling Xiao's expression was indifferent. He stretched out his hand and grabbed the red whip in the palm of his hand. Then he suddenly pulled and pulled back, and an unparalleled divine force gushed out from his palm, slamming into the young princess's body, causing her to tremble violently. Her chi and blood surged, and the flood dragon beast's charge came to a halt. Roar! The eyes of the Qilin Immortal King were filled with an icy cold killing intent. Suddenly, a thunderous roar erupted from his mouth, causing the surrounding space to tremble. An incomparably terrifying sound wave blasted over, enveloping the horde of flood dragons and gigantic beasts as though it was corporeal. The flood dragon beasts were only at the true immortal realm. How could they withstand the roar of immortal King Qilin? Instantly, all of them trembled, and they stood on the spot anxiously. Their eyes were filled with fear, and it was as though they couldn't help but kneel down in the next moment. "Who are you? How dare you block the path of this young princess?" The young princess's expression was incomparably cold, and she looked at Ling Xiao doubtfully. Then, when her gaze landed on the immortal King Qilin, her eyes lit up, revealing an incomparably blazing light. She could see that the immortal King Qilin was extraordinary, and only such a mount was worthy of the young princess's status. Instantly, she had the thought of taking him for herself. Chapter 34:27. Princess Red-Robed could tell that although Ling Xiao was an immortal king and had an extraordinary aura, he was very unfamiliar to her. He was not one of the big shots or geniuses she knew in the immortal court of fate. Therefore, contempt appeared in her eyes. "You rode your horse wildly and injured countless people. Of course, that's your business and has nothing to do with me. However, you shouldn't have provoked me." Ling Xiao's eyes were cold as he glanced at Princess Hongyi. "Provoked you? Who do you think you are? Brat, you actually dare to block this princess's path. However, I'm in a good mood today, so I won't lower myself to your level. Quickly offer your Qilin mount to me, and I'll spare your life." The red-dressed princess sneered. The Qilin immortal king was furious. Who would have thought that the princess would take a fancy to him and want him to be her mount? The Qilin immortal king was a supreme-grade immortal herb. Although he only had the cultivation of an immortal king due to his transformation, his future was limitless. However, its future was limitless. If it could grow up, it would not be impossible for it to become a powerful immortal emperor. He was extremely proud. Although he was willing to acknowledge Ling Xiao as his master, it was only because Ling Xiao could convince him. But who the hell was this princess in red? How dare she make the great Qilin immortal king her mount? "Little girl, who do you think you are? How dare you make me your mount? If you don't want to die, get over here and be my mount." The Qilin immortal king looked at Ling Xiao. He was very confident and immediately cursed at the princess. "Did you hear that? My mount doesn't want to follow you. I'm in a bad mood today. If you don't want to die, you'd better scram now. It's not too late." Ling Xiao sneered, and a trace of cold killing intent flashed in his eyes. He knew how powerful the celestial court of fortune was. Although he had promised the immortal Emperor Qin Yun to go to the heavenly Dao ancient battlefield, it did not mean that he was easy to bully. Perhaps he would have to use this red-clothed princess to establish his authority. Only then would he be able to show off his strength. Otherwise, wouldn't those people think that he could be bullied at will? "I think you have a death wish." The red-clothed princess's eyes were filled with murderous intent as she suddenly shouted. She was arrogant by nature and was used to being arrogant in the Fortune Immortal City. Because she had the support of the second prince, no one dared to provoke her. Even the crown prince's men had to be courteous to her. She hadn't expected that a mere immortal king from outside would actually dare to speak such arrogant words. Killing intent instantly arose in her heart. The fiery red whip in her hand produced an explosive sound as it lashed out at Ling Xiao's face. At the same time, a light flashed in her palm, and a sword-shaped rune appeared. It exuded an ancient and terrifying aura, and it was instantly activated by her. As soon as this sword talisman appeared, the heavens and the earth instantly changed color. Winds blew and clouds surged, and the surrounding space trembled slightly. In the next moment, a brilliant sword light that was 10,000 miles long rose from the 9 heavens and slashed down toward Ling Xiao. This was the most powerful attack left behind by a half-immortal emperor. It was fierce to the extreme. Although the red-clothed princess was arrogant and domineering, she was no fool. She knew that the whip might not be able to hit Ling Xiao. However, this sword talisman was different. As soon as the sword talisman appeared, sword light flashed in all directions. It was as powerful as a half-immortal emperor's attack. Even a peak immortal king expert would die without a doubt. She wanted to kill Ling Xiao and snatch the Qilin immortal king away. Seeing how vicious the red-clothed princess was and how fierce her killing intent was, Ling Xiao's eyes revealed a trace of coldness. Boom! Ling Xiao casually blasted out an incomparably ferocious fist print, and in an instant, the long whip was directly blasted into pieces, completely exploding into pieces. A powerful immortal king weapon was completely destroyed in his hands just like that. Then, the sky-devouring sword in his hand released a dazzling sword light. He also swung his sword to meet the attack. The fierce sword light seemed to be able to destroy everything as it collided with the sword talisman in the void. Boom! It was as if a brilliant immortal Tao star had exploded, causing the surrounding space to tremble violently. The sword light that filled the sky was swept away. Ling Xiao's sky-devouring sword was extremely fierce as it slashed down toward the red-clothed princess. What? Princess Redjade's expression changed drastically. Her beautiful face lost all color as her eyes were filled with disbelief. She had never imagined that not only was her sword talisman unable to kill Ling Xiao, but Ling Xiao was also able to unleash such a powerful combat strength. Not only did he destroy her sword talisman, but he also wanted to kill her with a single strike. She was completely flustered as she hurriedly shouted, "Save me!" Rumble. However, when the dazzling sword light landed, it instantly destroyed the defensive sword light around her. It then slashed her body, causing her body to explode. So, a resplendent beam of starlight appeared. It was the red-clothed princess' primordial spirit. She instantly used a teleportation technique to escape into the distance. Ling Xiao held the sky-devouring sword in his hand with an extremely cold expression. Another sharp sword light slashed down in an attempt to completely shatter the red-clothed princess' primordial spirit. Stop! At that moment, a dignified and cold voice resounded in the void. However, Ling Xiao turned a deaf ear to it as though he did not hear it at all. The sword light in his hand slashed down and struck the red-clothed princess' primordial spirit, completely destroying her primordial spirit. At that moment, the red-clothed princess' primordial spirit was completely destroyed. Rumble! Because of Ling Xiao's sword strike, figures with extremely terrifying auras suddenly appeared in the Fortune Immortal City. They swept across the sky towards the city. At the same time, the powerful array above the Fortune Immortal City seemed to have been activated. Immortal Tao runes intertwined, containing extremely terrifying killing intent. They formed a huge immortal Tao net above the 9 heavens, locking down Ling Xiao below. Kacha! An extremely terrifying figure descended from the 9 heavens and transformed into a middle-aged man wearing a black dragon robe and a crown on his head. His expression was extremely gloomy and his eyes were filled with extremely cold killing intent. "I told you to stop. Didn't you hear me?" The middle-aged man said coldly. His voice was like thunder that shook the surrounding void. "Oh no, it's the 9 Quasi-Emperor." Yi Liangshuai's body trembled as he quickly transmitted his voice to Ling Xiao. It turned out that the 9 Quasi-Emperor was the second prince's guardian. He was extremely powerful and was not any weaker than the Qing Yun Quasi-Emperor. Moreover, it was said that the red-clothed princess was the descendant of the 9 Quasi-Emperor. Therefore, the 9 Quasi-Emperor was so furious after Ling Xiao killed the red-clothed princess with a single sword strike that he immediately revealed himself. "Who are you?" Ling Xiao was extremely indifferent as he asked in return. The surrounding people were shocked. They did not expect this unfamiliar celestial king to be so courageous. He even dared to question the 9 Quasi-Emperor. Was he not afraid of death? The 9 Quasi-Emperor stared at Ling Xiao and laughed out of anger. "Good, very good. It has been many years since someone dared to say such things in front of me. Since you killed Hong, you'll pay with your life for her." The 9 Quasi-Emperor's expression instantly turned cold and emotionless. Evil Yin Qi circled around him as lightning intertwined. An extremely terrifying killing intent locked onto Ling Xiao. Rumble! He slammed his palm down on Ling Xiao. This palm contained a peerless killing intent, as if it was going to kill Ling Xiao completely. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with a sharp light. He held the sky-devouring sword in his hand, and the sword intent around him soared to the sky. The three swords of origin were about to be completely activated at any time. Ling Xiao did not show any fear in the face of this powerful quasi-emperor. Instead, his battle-intent soared, and he wanted to fight this quasi-emperor. At this moment, a dazzling sword light swept across the void. It seemed to have destroyed the void in all directions in an instant. It was extremely mysterious and unpredictable. The sword light arrived first, blocking in front of the 9 quasi-immortal emperor in an instant and completely turning his palm print into dust. In the void, the sky was dazzling. An elegant and dignified middle-aged man walked over and appeared in front of the 9 quasi-emperor. It was the Qing Yun quasi-emperor. When the 9 quasi-emperor saw the appearance of the Qing Yun quasi-emperor, his face turned extremely gloomy. "Li Qingyun, are you trying to stop me?" The Qing Yun quasi-emperor smiled indifferently. "Brother 9, why are you so angry? Fellow Taoist Ling Xiao is my esteemed guest. I wonder if Brother Jiyue can spare him this once on account of my meager face?" "Impossible. He killed Hong, so he has to pay with his life for Hong." The 9 quasi-emperor was extremely unyielding as he sneered. The green cloud quasi-immortal emperor glanced at the red-clothed princess, who had died. He also felt a little troubled. He knew the relationship between the 9 quasi-emperor and Princess Hongyu. Therefore, he knew that the 9 quasi-emperor would not let this matter rest. "Brother 9, Ling Xiao is my esteemed guest. I will protect him today. If you are not convinced, why don't we have a fight?" The Qing Yun quasi-emperor's eyes flashed as he smiled indifferently. It was rare for him to be so unyielding. The 9 quasi-emperor's face instantly turned ugly. He did not expect the Qing Yun quasi-emperor to be so unyielding in order to protect Ling Xiao. One had to know that the Qing Yun quasi-emperor's strength was extremely terrifying. Even the 9 quasi-emperor did not have the confidence to take him down. "Good, very good. Li Qingyun, I will remember you. And Ling Xiao, I will also remember you. One day, if you fall into my hands, I will make you beg for death." The 9 quasi-emperor looked coldly at the Qing Yun quasi-emperor, his eyes filled with killing intent. Then, he glared fiercely at Ling Xiao before turning to leave. He had actually given up. In an instant, everyone looked at the Qing Yun quasi-emperor with eyes full of respect. They did not expect the Qing Yun quasi-emperor to be so powerful that even the usually unyielding and domineering 9 quasi-emperor was so afraid of him. At the same time, they looked at Ling Xiao curiously. This unfamiliar immortal king was actually the esteemed guest of the Qing Yun quasi-emperor. Many of the important figures among them suddenly had the intention to befriend him. "Brother Ling Xiao, have you made your decision to come to the Fortune Immortal City?" The Qing Yun quasi-emperor smiled at Ling Xiao with a hint of anticipation in his eyes. "Yes, I have made my decision. I am willing to enter the heavenly ancient battlefield," Ling Xiao said slowly. "Good, very good. Brother Ling Xiao, please follow me to the Qing Yun Immortal Palace." The Qing Yun quasi-emperor was overjoyed and immediately led Ling Xiao to the Qing Yun Immortal Palace. Chapter 34-28. Green Cloud Immortal Palace. This was an immortal palace that floated in the 9 heavens. It was made of divine Tao celestial metal and was shimmering with celestial light. Celestial Tao runes circled above the immortal palace, and it contained an extremely cold, murderous aura. This was a formation left behind by generations of powerhouses that could easily kill celestial kings. When Ling Xiao and the Green Cloud Quasi-Immortal Emperor arrived at the Green Cloud Immortal Palace, there was already someone waiting for them. It was a young man in a purple dragon robe with a jade crown on his head. He was handsome, elegant, and extraordinarily refined. His eyes were as bright and wise as the stars, and he had a gentle smile on his face. He gave off a dignified and mysterious aura. When he saw the green cloud quasi-immortal emperor, he immediately bowed slightly and said, "Greetings, imperial uncle." Then, his gaze fell on Ling Xiao as he smiled faintly and said, "This must be Senior Ling Xiao, right?" "That's right. Let me introduce you. This is Ling Xiao, the one who killed 4 celestial kings and destroyed a quasi-immortal emperor's avatar in the Truth Celestial Court. You should get to know him better in the future." The green cloud quasi-immortal emperor nodded. "Brother Ling Xiao, this is the crown prince of the creation celestial court." Then, the green cloud quasi-immortal emperor introduced the young man to Ling Xiao. As it turned out, the young man in the purple dragon robe was the crown prince of the creation celestial court, Li Wuji. While Li Wuji was sizing up Ling Xiao was also sizing him up. Ling Xiao could see that Li Wuji's cultivation base had reached the 9th heaven of the celestial king realm, which was similar to his cultivation base. Moreover, it seemed like Li Wuji had cultivated some kind of powerful celestial emperor's inheritance. He was surrounded by purple qi and dragon qi, and he exuded a mysterious and powerful dragon's might. At the same time, there seemed to be the intertwining of the law of creation. It was obvious that he was not an ordinary person. Ling Xiao could also see that although the crown prince of the creation celestial court looked very gentle and polite, there was a lofty arrogance in his bones. "Greetings, Your Highness." Ling Xiao replied calmly. Everyone took their seats in the green cloud immortal palace. Soon, the servants served many delicacies, immortal herbs, spiritual fruits, and nectar. These were all rare treasures in the immortal realm, but for the immortal court of fortune, these were just ordinary things. "Thank you, fellow Taoist Ling Xiao, for being willing to help us enter the heavenly Tao ancient battlefield." The green cloud quasi-immortal emperor raised his cup and smiled at Ling Xiao. "You don't have to be so polite, Taoist Qing Yun. The main reason why I'm willing to enter the heavenly Tao ancient battlefield is because of the eternity fruit." Ling Xiao was incomparably frank as he revealed his intentions. "Don't worry, fellow Taoist Ling Xiao. After entering the heavenly ancient battlefield, the creation celestial court will do our best to help fellow Taoist Ling Xiao obtain the eternity fruit so that you can condense the heavenly Tao seed as soon as possible and break through to the quasi-immortal emperor realm." Immortal Emperor Qin Yunji replied with a smile, officially making a promise. "Senior Ling Xiao, I heard that there's still some time before the ancient battlefield opens. Why don't you let me bring Senior Ling Xiao around the Fortune Immortal City for a tour? There are many places worth visiting in the Fortune Immortal City." The Crown Prince, Li Wuji, smiled at Ling Xiao, trying to get closer to him. "Thank you, Your Highness. However, I plan to stay in the Yi family for the time being, so I won't disturb fellow Taoist Qing Yunji and Your Highness," Ling Xiao said calmly. He had already promised Yi Liangshui to bring him back to the Yi family. After hearing Ling Xiao's words, Yi Liangshui's eyes were instantly filled with gratitude. "Yi family?" Li Wuji's eyes were filled with a trace of surprise. His gaze fell on Yi Liangshui, and he immediately understood. Then he smiled faintly and said, "So it's brother Yi Liangshui. I heard that the Yi family is preparing to select the Yi family's divine son recently. I remember that brother Yi Liangshui was a strong candidate for the Yi family's divine son candidate back then. This time, with Senior Ling Xiao's support, perhaps you'll have a chance to compete for the position of the divine son." "Your Highness, you must be joking. With Yi Qin and Yi Cheng around, how can I be the divine son of the Yi family?" Yi Liangshui said with a wry smile. His eyes were filled with bitterness. The reason why Yi Liangshui had come to the primitive world from the eternal immortal domains was not only because he had the protection of a patriarch of the Yi family, but also because the Yi family had Yi Qin and Yi Cheng, the 2 chosen sons of heaven. Although Yi Liangshui was the son of the Yi family's patriarch, he still paled in comparison to Yi Cheng and Yi Qin. "No matter what, I think brother Yi Liangshui should return to the Yi family as soon as possible. I heard that the Yi family's ancestor doesn't have much time left. I'm afraid he'll pass away soon." Li Wuji's eyes flashed as he said slowly, "What?" Yi Liangshui's body trembled, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. He immediately looked at Ling Xiao with a pleading gaze. Ling Xiao nodded and said, "I'll go back to the Yi family with you." "Thank you, master." "Thank you, master." Yi Liangshui's eyes were filled with gratitude. Then, Ling Xiao stood up and prepared to bring Yi Liangshui back to the Yi family to bid farewell to the Green Cloud quasi-immortal emperor and crown prince Li Wuji. The Green Cloud quasi-immortal emperor's eyes flickered as he looked at Ling Xiao's back. He then looked at Li Wuji and asked, "Wuji, what do you think of Ling Xiao? He's extremely talented and shrewd. He'll definitely become a quasi-immortal emperor in the future. If he doesn't pass away, he might even be able to attain the supreme immortal emperor realm." Li Wuji said slowly, expressing his opinion of Ling Xiao. "I didn't expect someone as proud as you to think so highly of Ling Xiao." The Green Cloud quasi-immortal emperor smiled slightly, and a hint of relief could be seen in his eyes. He was a member of the Crown Prince's faction, so naturally, he would think of the Crown Prince. However, he knew that the Crown Prince was arrogant by nature. In the entire Fortune Immortal City, there were only a few people who could catch his eye. Even his second brother, who was extremely talented, did not catch his attention. Now that he thought highly of Ling Xiao, the Green Cloud quasi-immortal emperor was naturally pleased. "Royal uncle, although I'm arrogant, it's because the others are too mediocre. However, I also understand that there's always someone better than you. Senior Ling Xiao is not an enemy. I have a feeling that if I can maintain a good relationship with him, he'll be a great help to the Fortune Immortal Court." Li Wuji's eyes flickered as he spoke with a hint of wisdom. "If that's the case, why don't you follow Ling Xiao and General Yi back to the Yi clan? You should know that the Yi clan is in a lot of trouble now. If General Yi returns now, it'll be extremely awkward. Why don't you follow them back and use your identity as the Crown Prince to intimidate them?" The Green Cloud quasi-immortal emperor asked curiously. "Royal uncle, although the Yi clan is in trouble, I believe that Senior Ling Xiao can easily resolve it with his means. This is a good opportunity for Senior Ling Xiao to completely subdue General Yi. Why should I go and do him a favor? If I do that, I'm afraid it'll backfire and make Senior Ling Xiao think I'm a person who plays tricks. Since I've decided to maintain a good relationship with him, I'll naturally treat him with sincerity." Li Wuji said with a smile. "Good, very good. Wuji, do you know? That's what I admire the most about you. As a ruler, although you have to scheme, if you can, you still have to do it openly. You can't be too obsessed with schemes. You're much better than Wu Shuang in this aspect." The Green Cloud quasi-immortal emperor said with a smile. His eyes were filled with gratification. On the other side, Ling Xiao rode on immortal King Qilin and brought General Yi back to the Yi clan. The Yi clan was a long-lived family with a long history. It was said that they had already existed when the Fortune Immortal Court was first established. An ancestor of the Yi clan was once a general under the Fortune Immortal Emperor. A quasi-immortal emperor had also appeared in the Yi clan's ancestor. They were incomparably prosperous. Now, the Yi clan was indeed a little weak. This was because everyone knew that the ancestor of the Yi clan did not have much lifespan left and was about to die. If the ancestor, who was a quasi-immortal emperor, died, the Yi clan would immediately fall from being a supergiant and become the most ordinary long-lived family in the Fortune Immortal City. Therefore, during this period of time, the undercurrent of the Yi clan was turbulent. Everyone in the Yi clan was not only fighting for the position of the clan master, but also for the title of the Yi clan's godchild. In that case, if the ancestor you mentioned dies, your father's position as the clan master will also be unstable? After hearing Yi Liangshui's explanation, Ling Zhao's eyes flashed as he spoke slowly. "That's right. Although my father's talent is extraordinary, his foundation is too weak after all. However, because he is the direct descendant of the ancestor and has the support of the ancestor, no one dares to say anything when he becomes the clan master. However, if the ancestor dies, I'm afraid it's hard to say. After all, Yi Qin and Yi Cheng's fathers, who are also my two uncles, are not weaker than my father in terms of talent. Moreover, they are extremely powerful. If they take the position of patriarch, then either Yi Qin or Yi Cheng will definitely become the Yi clan's godchild." Yi Liangshui said with a wry smile. What about Yi Qin and Yi Cheng's cultivation? Ling Xiao asked indifferently. Before I left, Yi Qin and Yi Cheng were already at the 9th heaven of the true immortal realm. Now, they have probably broken through to the immortal king realm. Yi Liangshui said with a wry smile. His current cultivation was only at the true immortal realm. He had no idea how long it would take for him to break through to the immortal king realm. After all, his talent was indeed not as good as Yi Qin and Yi Cheng. Since you've helped me find the godly mountain's Tao spirit, I'll help you become the Yi clan's godchild. Ling Xiao said calmly and strode forward. Thank you, master. Yi Liangshui shuddered. His eyes reddened slightly. The Yi clan's ancestral ground was located to the east of the Fortune Immortal City. It occupied a floating godly mountain and opened up a small world. Most of the people living on the floating godly mountain were only the Yi clan's branch members. The core members of the clan lived in the small world they had opened up. As soon as Ling Xiao and Yi Liangshui arrived at the Yi clan's ancestral ground, they immediately felt an icy murderous intent locking onto them. Who's there? How dare you trespass on my Yi clan's territory? An icy voice echoed in the rift, followed by a few whooshes. Over 10 guards in armor and riding flying immortal beasts descended from the sky and surrounded Ling Xiao, Yi Liangshui, and the others. The guards' eyes were extremely cold. Their murderous intent lingered in the air. They were all true immortal realm experts. The leader of the guards had even reached the peak 9th heaven of the true immortal realm, half-immortal emperor realm. This was the strength of the Yi clan. Even the ordinary guards were true immortal realm experts. Chapter 3429. Yi Liangshui? Right at this moment, someone suddenly exclaimed. His eyes were filled with disbelief. Greetings, young master. Recognizing Yi Liangshui, the guards hurriedly bowed to him. Get up. Why are you bowing to the traitor of the Yi family? Who does he think he is? It won't be long before the young master of the Yi family becomes God's son Yi Qin. The leader of the guards sneered with a trace of cold killing intent in his eyes. How dare you disrespect me? Yi Liangshui's eyes flashed with a cold light and his face was filled with anger. He never thought that a mere guard commander of the Yi family would dare to be so impudent to him. However, he knew that something big must have happened to the Yi family. Disrespect you? Who do you think you are? Yi Liangshui, you betrayed the Yi family and stole the patriarch's healing elixir. Now that the patriarch doesn't have much lifespan left, it's all because of you. How dare you come back? Guards, take him down. The patrol commander sneered and immediately waved his hand to order the surrounding guards. Let's see who dares. Yi Liangshui was shocked and furious. He stared at the guard commander and said, You said that the patriarch doesn't have much lifespan left and I took the patriarch's healing elixir? That's right. Everyone in the Yi family knows about this. Do you still want to deny it? The guard commander sneered again and then shouted sternly, Guards, do you still dare to disobey? Why aren't you taking him down? The guards were hesitant at first, but after hearing the commander's words, they gritted their teeth and pounced on Yi Liangshui. How dare you? Yi Liangshui's eyes flashed with a cold light. Blazing starlight appeared around him and his fist was unparalleled. Bang, bang, bang. Although the guards were strong, how could they be a match for Yi Liangshui? In an instant they were all pushed back. You're courting death. The guard commander's eyes flashed with killing intent. He pulled out a black immortal weapon saber and slashed at Yi Liangshui. Noisy. At this moment, the Qilin immortal king suddenly shouted lazily. Then, it stretched out a purple claw, sweeping across the sky. It was extremely sharp. Rumble. The immortal weapon saber was instantly shattered by the Qilin immortal king's claw. After that, it slammed onto the body of the guard commander, causing him to tremble violently. He coughed out blood and fell from the sky. I say, Commander Yi, it seems like you're not doing well in the Yi clan. Even a small guard commander dares to kill you. Immortal King Qilin mocked. Yi Liangshui was anxious and angry. His eyes were filled with embarrassment. Kill him. At this moment, Ling Xiao suddenly opened his mouth and said indifferently, "Yes, master." Yi Liangshui's heart trembled, and he immediately nodded. Immortal light gushed out from Yi Liangshui's palm, and he instantly drew a sharp immortal sword. Then he swung the sword in the air and slashed down at the guard commander. "Stop!" At this moment, a loud roar was heard from the void. At the same time, an incomparably sharp saber light slashed down from the sky and targeted Yi Liangshui. It was actually trying to kill him with a single slash. Yi Liangshui was just about to block it when Ling Zhao's voice rang in his ears again. "Just attack. Don't worry about anything else," Ling Xiao said calmly. Then he punched out in the air. Rumble! The boundless fist print shook the sky in all directions. That saber light shattered with a loud bang. Then, the boundless fist print rose up like a divine sun from the 9 heavens and blasted on the figure that had just appeared in midair. Immediately, the figure staggered back. Golden blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth and his eyes were filled with shock and anger. At this moment, Yi Liangshui gritted his teeth and slashed down with the sword in his hand, killing the guard commander on the spot. Rumble! The starlight that filled the sky was ethereal and dazzling. A figure with an incomparably powerful aura descended from the sky. It was an immortal king. He stared at Yi Liangshui, his eyes filled with cold, killing intent. At the same time, he glanced at Ling Xiao, seeming somewhat bewildered. After seeing Yi Liangshui appear, he indeed had the thought of striking first to gain the upper hand and killing Yi Liangshui completely. However, he did not expect that Yi Liangshui would actually have such a powerful immortal king by his side to protect him. For a moment, he did not dare to make a move. "Uncle Yi Fu, you actually want to kill me?" Seeing the middle-aged immortal king in front of him, Yi Liangshui's eyes were filled with disbelief. The immortal king in front of him was called Yi Fu. He was once his father's most capable subordinate and had been very good to him when he was young. He did not expect that Yi Fu would actually attack him now. "Yi Liangshui, you stole the ancestors' healing divine medicine, and your father protected you. Both of you are traitors of the Yi family. Now, your father is already detained in the dungeon. As for you, could it be that you still want to resist?" Yi Fu sneered. His eyes were filled with indifference. "How dare you? Who gave you the right to capture my father? Where is the ancestor? I want to see the ancestor." Yi Liangshui was shocked and furious. He shouted repeatedly, his eyes filled with incomparable anger and killing intent. "You want to see the ancestor? Are you worthy? As for your father, as long as you obediently surrender, I can lock you in the dungeon. At that time, you and your father will naturally be able to see each other." Yi Fu sneered. Rumble! At this moment, rays of dazzling starlight bloomed from afar. A few figures with incomparably powerful auras soared into the sky like 3 dazzling suns. They instantly occupied the other 3 positions and vaguely trapped Ling Xiao and Yi Liangchen in the middle. They were 3 incomparably powerful immortal kings. The leader had a cold face and a sinister expression. He wore a black robe and looked at Yi Liangchen with undisguised killing intent. Yi Liangshui had already recognized him. He was Yi Qin's father, Yi Delu, and also his father's cousin. When Yi Fu saw Yi Delu, he immediately revealed a flattering smile and said, "Greetings, second master. How should we deal with Yi Liangshui? He even brought back an extremely powerful immortal king. He doesn't seem to be easy to deal with." Yi Delu didn't even look at Yi Liangshui. His gaze landed on Ling Xiao and he said indifferently, "Who are you? Which everlasting family do you come from? This is my Yi family's family matter. I hope you won't interfere. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite." Yi Delu was currently overflowing with power in the Yi family. He was currently competing with Yi Dejuan for the position of the Yi family's patriarch. However, Yi Liangshui was still a hidden danger, so he wanted to take the initiative and eliminate Yi Liangshui. At that time, he would kill Yi Liangshui's father. Even if the ancestor wasn't dead, the position of the patriarch could only be decided between him and Yi Dejuan. Moreover, he had greater confidence than Yi Dejuan. Therefore, in his opinion, The position of the Yi family's patriarch was already in the bag. In this way, even though Ling Zhao's aura was extraordinary, this was the Yi family after all. Not to mention an unfamiliar immortal king, even a quasi-immortal emperor wouldn't dare to behave atrociously here. You don't need to know who I am. You only need to know that from today onwards, Yi Liangshui is the Yi family's divine son. And his father is still the Yi family's patriarch. You only need to carry out my orders. Otherwise, you can only die. Ling Zhao's voice was incomparably calm as he spoke indifferently. After he finished speaking, Yi Delu immediately laughed out loud. His eyes were filled with mockery and incomparably cold killing intent. Do you really think I'm giving you face by calling you a fellow cultivator? Not to mention you, even the princes and the emperor lord don't dare to interfere in the family matters of my Yi family. Who do you think you are? You dare to act like a master in my Yi family? Then you can die. Yi Delu sneered and suddenly waved his hand. Boom. 4 immortal kings with incomparably powerful auras surged with killing intent and instantly locked onto Ling Zhao. Yi Liangshui, if I kill them, will it affect the Yi family? Ling Zhao ignored the immortal kings and looked at Yi Liangshui instead, asking indifferently. Master, they are all traitors of the Yi family. You can completely kill them. Yi Liangshui gritted his teeth and said, his eyes filled with incomparable gratitude. He knew that Ling Zhao could have ignored these trivial matters of the Yi family, but Ling Zhao still chose to do it. How could Yi Liangshui not know that Ling Zhao was doing it for him? Originally, he was still a little unwilling to be captured by Ling Zhao, but now he was completely convinced. He even decided to give up his life and follow him. From now on, he would never have any thoughts of betrayal. Very good. In that case, let me wipe out the rebellion of the Yi family for you. Ling Zhao said indifferently. He didn't even look at the immortal kings. A bright light shone in his palm, and the sky-swallowing sword appeared. You don't know what's good for you. Kill him. Yi Delu's eyes flashed with killing intent as he gave the order decisively. Immediately, the 4 immortal kings charged towards Ling Zhao with powerful immortal weapons in their hands. Crack! A dazzling starlight bloomed above the 9 heavens. Ling Zhao held the sky-swallowing sword in his hand and slashed in the air. Sword chi swept out, and the sky in all directions seemed to be split open. It was blazing to the extreme. That dazzling sword light seemed to contain the origin of all the worlds in the heavens, and it could also destroy reincarnation and shatter all things. It was extremely sharp. Yi Delu and the other immortal kings were all shocked and their souls almost left their bodies. Their eyes were filled with incomparable fear. They never thought that Ling Zhao's sword would be so terrifying. Rumble. The void trembled violently. Yi Delu and Yi Fu both coughed up blood. Their arms were directly cut off by the dazzling sword light, and their bodies flew out with a loud bang. The 2 immortal kings that Yi Delu brought were not so lucky. They were directly cut in half by Ling Zhao's sword, and even their primordial spirits were completely destroyed. 2 celestial kings instantly lost their lives under Ling Zhao's sword. How is this possible? Yi Delu and Yi Fu's faces were pale, and their eyes were filled with incomparable fear. They no longer had any arrogance. He defeated 4 immortal kings with a single sword strike, and even killed 2 of them. Could this young man in front of them be a quasi-immortal emperor? Thinking of this, their hearts couldn't help but sink. Chapter 34:30. I'll give you 2 choices now. You can either take me to the patriarch of the Yi clan and the ancestor of the Yi clan, or you can go to hell. Ling Zhao said coldly as he stared at Yi Delu and Yi Fu. Ling Zhao stood in the air with celestial light around him. Purple chi swirled around him as a mysterious and invincible aura filled the air. In his eyes, there seemed to be a mysterious scene of the sun and moon turning upside down and the destruction of the world. The incomparably powerful aura pressed down on Yi Delu and Yi Fu, causing them to tremble. Their eyes were filled with shock and anger. Who are you? This is the Yi clan. How dare you act so presumptuously here? Are you not afraid of death? The ancestor of the Yi clan is a general of the creation celestial court. The Yi clan is one of the top forces in the creation celestial city and has followed the celestial emperor to conquer the world. If you dare to act presumptuously here, the Yi clan and the creation celestial court will not let you go. Yi Delu said coldly with an ugly expression on his face. He was horrified when he saw Ling Zhao's terrifying combat strength. He could only hope that the Yi clan and the creation celestial court would be able to intimidate Ling Xiao so that he would not dare to act presumptuously here. Second uncle, I'm afraid you don't know that my master is the distinguished guest of the Crown Prince and the Green Cloud Quasi-Celestial Emperor. If you want to use the creation celestial court's name to suppress him, I'm afraid you've made a mistake. If you know what's good for you, quickly take me and my master to see my father and the ancestor. Otherwise, when my master makes a move, you'll definitely die. Yi Liangshui said coldly. Although Yi Delu and Yi Fu were members of the Yi clan, Yi Liangshui did not have the slightest sympathy for them. Moreover, if Ling Xiao had not followed them to the Yi clan, Yi Liangshui would have been captured by Yi Delu in an instant. At that time, both father and son would be prisoners and their lives would be at the mercy of others. The distinguished guest of the Crown Prince and the Green Cloud Quasi-Celestial Emperor. How is that possible? Yi Delu's body trembled, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. His expression was a little uncertain. After all, he had already stood on the second prince's side on behalf of the Yi clan. Now that the second prince and the Crown Prince were like fire, they could not coexist. In this way, only by completely annihilating this mysterious immortal king before them and relying on the second prince would they be able to obtain a chance at survival. Yi Delu's eyes immediately revealed a murderous intent to kill Ling. He could see that even though Ling Zhao's celestial courts, Ling's celestial court, a mere immortal king actually dared to behave atrociously in the Yi clan that possessed deep resources and reserves, and it caused his heart to be filled with unforgivable rage since a long time ago while his killing intent seethed. These three immortal kings were none other than Yi Dejuan and the two immortal kings under him. Ling Xiao defeated Yi Delu and Yi Fu with a single strike and even killed the two celestial kings. Yi Dejuan saw it all and was extremely fearful of Ling Xiao. Second brother, let's put aside our grudges for now and kill this person together. Yi Dejuan said slowly as he looked at Yi Delu with a faint gaze. Okay, please use the treasures to kill him. Yi Delu also revealed his killing intent as he coldly said. Boom. The five celestial kings joined forces at the same time. At this moment, the auras of the five powerful celestial kings intertwined, divine light filled the air, and their bloodlines surged. It was as if an extremely powerful aura had awakened in the depths of the Yi clan. Suddenly, a blazing light shook the void as if it could tear the world apart. That incomparably horrifying killing intent instantly locked onto Ling Xiao. Oh no, master, that's the Yi clan's treasures, the heaven and earth celestial mirror. The heaven and earth celestial mirror can shoot out the heaven and earth destruction celestial light. Its power is extremely terrifying and can even severely injure a quasi-immortal emperor. Master must be careful. Yi Liangshui's body trembled. He suddenly thought of something and hurriedly said to Ling Xiao. Ridiculous. Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Ling Xiao's eyes were filled with killing intent. In his palm, the sky-devouring sword emitted a sharp light. His entire body emitted a terrifying aura. At this moment, in the depths of the Yi clan, the heaven and earth celestial mirror suddenly shot out a dazzling heaven and earth destruction celestial light. It swept across the sky as if it was going to tear Ling Xiao into pieces. The heaven and earth destruction celestial light was extremely terrifying. Even Ling Xiao felt a strong threat. He instantly soared into the sky. The sky-devouring sword emitted thousands of rays of light. A dazzling sword light that seemed to contain the origin of heaven and earth and the truth of all things met the destructive divine light. Even the void seemed to have cracks. The heaven and earth destruction celestial light was destroyed by Ling Xiao's sword. Rumble. Heaven and earth shook. This seemed to be just the beginning. In the depths of the Yi clan, A dazzling, ancient mirror floated in the void. It emitted chaotic light as if it had triggered the eternal power of heaven. Its aura was mysterious and unfathomable. This was the heaven and earth celestial mirror. Its entire body emitted a dazzling light. It trembled slightly in the void. In an instant, rays of heaven and earth destruction celestial light shot toward Ling Zhao's vital points. In an instant, thousands of rays of heaven and earth destruction celestial light were activated at the same time. The terrifying aura even shook the entire heaven and earth immortal city. Countless important figures in the city cast their gazes toward the Yi clan. Countless important figures were shocked. They did not know what had happened to the Yi clan. Even the heaven and earth celestial mirror had been activated. One should know that the heaven and earth celestial mirror was extremely powerful. Although it was not an eternal emperor weapon, it was still a top quasi-emperor celestial weapon. It could release the eternal power of heaven and was a strong threat to even immortal emperors. Could it be that the Yi clan had encountered a powerful enemy and had even used this treasure? Rumble. In the sky above the Yi clan, Ling Xiao was surrounded by golden light. Sword Qi surged from his palm. The sky-devouring sword also emitted a dazzling divine light. One should know that the sky-devouring sword was Ling Zhao's natal treasure. It had even merged with the origin sword, an incomplete eternal emperor weapon. Its power was not inferior to a quasi-emperor celestial weapon. Ling Xiao used the origin sword in the sky above the Yi clan. The sword Qi was extremely sharp, as if it could destroy everything. The heaven and earth destruction celestial light released by the heaven and earth celestial mirror was annihilated by the rays of origin sword Qi. It could not cause any harm to Ling Xiao at all. Kill! Ling Xiao roared. His eyes were as cold as steel. With the sky-devouring sword in his hand, he was like a dazzling ray of light. In an instant, he pierced through the void and charged toward the 5 celestial kings. Stop him! Yi Delu and Yi Dejuan's expressions changed drastically. They did not expect that even the heaven and earth celestial mirror of the Yi clan could not hurt Ling Xiao. This Ling Xiao, his strength had actually reached such a terrifying level? Their hearts sank. Could it be that they really could not stop Ling Xiao today? Boom! A loud sound shook the heavens. The origin sword Qi swept across the field and enveloped the 5 celestial kings. The 3 celestial kings under Yi Delu and Yi Dejuan's command all took out powerful celestial weapons and used supreme celestial techniques to block Ling Zhao's domineering sword Qi. However, under the incomparably sharp sky-devouring sword, the 3 origin swords could destroy and suppress everything. Crack, crack, crack. The celestial weapons in the hands of the 3 celestial kings and the powerful celestial techniques they used were like paper. They were instantly shattered and torn apart. They seemed so fragile. In the void, bloody light filled the air. A celestial king expert was split in half by Ling Zhao's sword. Even his primordial spirit did not have time to escape and was killed by the sky-devouring sword. Boom! The sky-devouring sword exuded a powerful devouring force and instantly devoured the primordial spirit of the celestial king expert. This was the devouring origin of the sky-devouring sword. It could devour everything to nourish itself. The corpse and primordial spirit of a celestial king expert were also great nourishment for the sky-devouring sword. The peerless divine might that erupted from Ling Xiao seemed to be able to shatter everything. The remaining 2 celestial kings were instantly terrified. They instantly turned around and wanted to escape. However, the sky-devouring sword released a dazzling light. 2 sword Qi slashed down from the sky and directly killed the 2 of them. Their flesh and primordial spirits were instantly devoured by the sky-devouring sword. In the blink of an eye, only Yi Delu and Yi Dejuan were left in the sky above the Yi family. Quick, summon the patriarch. The survival of our Yi family is at stake. We must kill such a great enemy. Yi Delu and Yi Dejuan roared angrily. Rumble! An ancient and mysterious token suddenly appeared in their palms. It released a dazzling light that instantly pierced through time and space and reached the depths of the Yi family's ancestral land. In the depths of the Yi family's ancestral land, A purple coffin instantly opened. In the coffin, an old man with white hair and beard was surrounded by a deathly aura. His body was almost withered and he was almost completely dead. Suddenly, the old man abruptly opened his eyes, and his eyes were filled with blazing and dazzling killing intent. In the next moment, the old man soared into the sky, and an incomparably terrifying destructive power erupted from his body. This old man was shockingly a half-immortal emperor powerhouse. This was precisely the Yi family's foundation. At the same time, it was the foundation of countless everlasting families. The half-immortal emperor ancestors of everlasting families were invincible throughout their lives. Even when they were about to die, they would seal themselves in the ancestral land and leave behind the strength to fight. If the family encountered a powerful enemy, they could be awakened by the later generations and then killed the powerful enemy. Of course, after killing the powerful enemy, these half-immortal emperor ancestors would also completely die. Therefore, this kind of foundation was not many even in everlasting families. Only in a life and death crisis would they be urgently summoned and then killed the powerful enemy. Yi Delu and Yi Dejuan stole the authority of the Yi family's patriarch. The token in their hands could summon the Yi family's foundation. Therefore, at this moment, they directly summoned the Yi family's patriarch, wanting to completely kill Ling Xiao. Not good. Why is it this patriarch? However, in the next moment, when Yi Delu and Yi Dejuan saw the old man with white hair and beard, their bodies trembled, and their eyes revealed expressions of disbelief. Chapter 34-31. Ancestor, I'm Yi Liangshui, I'm Yi Liangshui. When Yi Liangshui saw the old man with white hair and beard, his entire body trembled. His eyes were filled with incomparable surprise as he hurriedly shouted. Ling Xiao, who was holding the devouring heaven sword and was about to unleash the supreme profundity of the three swords of origin to fight this quasi-immortal emperor ancestor, was slightly startled and stopped attacking. When the quasi-immortal emperor ancestor saw Yi Liangshui, his entire body trembled. The killing intent in his eyes gradually withdrew, revealing a trace of clarity. Liangshui, why is it you? What's going on? The quasi-immortal emperor ancestor's eyes were filled with confusion. He had sealed himself in the ancestral land of the Yi family and became the foundation of the Yi family. However, he had never thought that he would be awakened at this time. Originally, he had wanted to use thunderous means to destroy the Yi family's great enemy. However, he had never thought that the so-called great enemy was actually Yi Liangshui, the descendant he had once valued the most. It's over, it's all over. Yi Delu and Yi Dejuan trembled all over. Their faces were incomparably pale, and their eyes were filled with incomparable despair. The family token in their hands could indeed summon the Yi family's foundation. However, this kind of summoning was random. They did not know which quasi-immortal emperor ancestor would be summoned. After all, the Yi family had more than one foundation. Coincidentally, they had never thought that the quasi-immortal emperor ancestor that would be summoned this time would actually be the quasi-immortal emperor ancestor of Yi Liangshui's lineage. This ancestor had just exhausted his lifespan 2 days ago and sealed himself in the ancestral land, becoming one of the Yi family's foundations. However, they did not expect that he would be summoned this time. If the quasi-immortal emperor ancestor of Yi Liangshui's lineage had not sealed himself in the ancestral land, they would not have dared to imprison Yi Liangshui's father privately and snatch the patriarch's token. Now, they even wanted to attack Yi Liangshui, wanting to eliminate the root of the problem and completely kill Yi Liangshui. Ancestor, Yi Delu and Yi Dejuan betrayed our Yi family and imprisoned my father. Now, they even want to kill me to silence me. Ancestor, please uphold justice for me. Yi Liangshui bowed respectfully to the quasi-immortal emperor ancestor and then recounted what had happened in the Yi family. What, you dare to be so bold? After the quasi-immortal emperor ancestor heard Yi Liangshui's words, he was instantly enraged. His eyes were filled with disbelief. Immortal light gushed out of his palm. divine chains of the immortal Tao swept across the sky and imprisoned Yi Delu and Yi Dejuan in an instant. Today, I want to see who dares to be so presumptuous with me here. The expression of the quasi-immortal emperor ancestor was incomparably cold. After that, he descended from the sky and arrived at the main hall of the Yi clan. Following the order of the Yi clan's ancestor, the Yi clan's patriarch who was imprisoned in the dungeon was immediately released. The head of the Yi family was called Yi Deqing, and he was Yi Liangshui's father. At this moment, he looked somewhat tired and weary. There were also some bloodstains on his body, but his face was filled with incomparable anger. He originally thought that Yi Delu and Yi Dejuan wanted to bring him out for repairs. However, he did not expect to see the patriarch of the Yi family and Yi Liangshui sitting in the main hall of the Yi family. His eyes were filled with joy. Son greets father. Father, you have suffered. When Yi Liangshui saw Yi Deqing, his eyes immediately turned red. He directly walked forward and knelt in front of Yi Deqing, choking with sobs. He did not dare to imagine what would have happened if he had returned a few days later. At that time, he might not even be able to see his father for the last time. When he thought of this, he hated Yi Delu and Yi Dejuan even more. His eyes were filled with incomparably cold, killing intent. Good. It's good that you're back. It's good that you're back. Yi Deqing looked at Yi Liangshui with eyes full of kindness and said with a gratified smile. Yi Liangshui, you haven't introduced this fellow cultivator to me. Who is he? The Yi clan's patriarch's eyes flashed as he sized up Ling Xiao and said. He had already understood what had just happened, and his heart was even more unsettled. This Ling Xiao was clearly only at the Immortal King realm, but in the Yi clan he had consecutively killed 5 Immortal King experts. His strength was unparalleled. Even the Yi clan's most precious treasure, the Universe Immortal Mirror, could not do anything to him. The Yi clan's patriarch even had a faint feeling that even if he personally took action, it would be very difficult for him to take Ling Xiao down. Reporting to Ancestor, reporting to Lord Father, this is Lord Ling Xiao, who is also my master. If it wasn't for Lord Ling Xiao, I would have died in the Chaos Sea long ago. Yi Liangshui laughed bitterly and said slowly. Now, he was completely convinced by Ling Xiao, and his eyes were filled with respect when he looked at Ling Xiao. When the Yi clan's patriarch and Yi Deqing heard that Yi Liangshui had actually recognized Ling Xiao as his master, their faces were filled with displeasure at the beginning. After all, Yi Liangshui was the future successor of the Yi clan, and he was even the Yi clan's godson. How could he recognize someone else as his master? What was the difference between this and a follower? Not to mention Ling Xiao, even the crown prince and the second prince did not have the qualifications to be called master by Yi Liangshui. However, after listening to Yi Liangshui's narration, the Yi clan's patriarch and Yi Deqing could not help but tremble in fear. They did not expect Ling Xiao to be a living being from a desolate place like the Chaos Sea. Moreover, he had relied on his own strength to forcefully turn the primitive world into an eternal world and even obtained a heaven-defying creation like the World Tree. In other words, as long as Ling Xiao did not die in the future, he would definitely become a celestial emperor. Moreover, Ling Xiao had killed a few great celestial kings from the Truth Celestial Court and even killed a half-celestial emperor's Dharma body. Moreover, he had also obtained the legendary Origin Celestial Emperor's inheritance. This made the Yi clan's patriarch and Yi Deqing regard Ling Xiao even more highly. They no longer had any objections to Yi Liangshui recognizing Ling Xiao as his master. In fact, they even felt a trace of joy. After all, although the Yi clan was still an everlasting family, it was in a precarious state and rapidly weakened. It was difficult to say if they would be able to stand firm in the Fortune Celestial City in the future. However, if they had Ling Xiao's support, that might not be the case. Moreover, to have a future celestial emperor as his master, what kind of glory was this? It should be known that many half-celestial emperors would most likely not be able to become a servant of a celestial emperor. Fellow cultivator Ling Xiao, thank you for killing the traitor for my Yi clan. This old man is extremely grateful. The Yi clan's patriarch's eyes flashed as he smiled at Ling Xiao. You're welcome. Yi Liangshui is my man. Naturally, I don't want to see him being humiliated by others. Ling Xiao said indifferently as he was extremely calm. Even so, my Yi clan is greatly indebted to fellow cultivator Ling Xiao. I have a gift for fellow cultivator Ling Xiao. I hope fellow cultivator Ling Xiao will accept it. The Yi clan's patriarch's eyes flashed. Immediately, a stream of light flew out from his sleeve and floated in front of Ling Xiao. At first glance, it seemed to be the fur of some kind of immortal beast. There were lines on it that outlined the landscape. It looked like some kind of treasure map. This is... A trace of doubt appeared in Ling Xiao's eyes. He did not immediately accept it. Fellow cultivator Ling Xiao, this is a map that I carved when I entered the heavenly ancient battlefield 1,000,000 years ago. The location on this map is very likely to contain an eternity fruit. The Yi clan's patriarch said slowly. However, the information in his words made Ling Xiao's body tremble. The eternity fruit was Ling Xiao's target in the heavenly ancient battlefield. He had never thought that he would actually obtain such a map from the Yi clan's patriarch. It seemed that Ling Xiao really could not reject the gift from the Yi clan's patriarch. However, he also understood the meaning behind the Yi clan's patriarch's gift. Thank you, fellow cultivator. This map is indeed very useful to me. Don't worry, fellow cultivator. If anything happens to the Yi clan in the future, I will definitely take care of them. Ling Xiao cupped his fists at the Yi clan's patriarch and said slowly. It was considered a promise. The Yi clan's patriarch was also full of smiles. His suspended heart was finally at ease. He did not have much time left after this incident. It would not be long before he completely fell. The only thing he was worried about was the Yi clan. Although Yi Liangshui had acknowledged Ling Xiao as his master, the Yi clan had nothing to do with Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao would help Yi Liangshui, but he might not help the Yi clan. Therefore, the Yi clan's patriarch had given a lot of thought to this map. He could see that the eternity fruit was indeed a treasure that Ling Xiao could not reject. Therefore, Ling Xiao would also take care of the Yi clan in the future for the sake of this map. This was the Yi clan's patriarch's true intention. Yi Delu Yi Dejuan, you betrayed your master and your ancestors. Your crimes are unforgivable. You will be punished by the patriarch, Yi Deqing. In addition, Yi Liangshui will be the Yi clan's divine son from today onwards. Do you have any objections? The Yi clan's patriarch said with an extremely serious expression. His gaze swept past Yi Delu and Yi Dejuan. At the same time, he also looked at the two extremely talented members of the Yi clan, Yi Qin and Yi Cheng. Yi Delu and Yi Dejuan's faces instantly turned pale. Their eyes were filled with despair. Yi Qin and Yi Cheng were also filled with unwillingness. After all, the Yi clan's divine son was originally theirs. However, they had never thought that after the Yi clan's patriarch had revived, he would directly make the trash Yi Liangshui the divine son of the Yi clan. However, at this moment, they did not dare to disobey the Yi clan's patriarch's order. They all nodded respectfully. I know that some of you have already colluded with the second prince. However, I have to make things clear today. From today onwards, the Yi clan will support the crown prince unconditionally. If anyone dares to flirt with the second prince in private, they will be seen as betraying the clan and betraying your master and ancestors. The Yi clan's patriarch said firmly. His eyes were filled with extremely cold killing intent. Everyone in the Yi clan bowed and accepted the order. They did not dare to have any objections. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He immediately understood that the Yi clan's patriarch was expressing goodwill to him. After all, Ling Xiao was now on good terms with the Qin Yun quasi-emperor. He could be considered as one of the crown prince's people. Therefore, the Yi clan's patriarch tied the Yi clan to the crown prince's chariot. It also showed that they would advance and retreat together with Ling Xiao. Yi Delu and Yi Dejuan were captured by Yi Deqing and temporarily locked up in the dungeon. As for Yi Liangshui, he was called to a secret room by the Yi clan's patriarch. The Yi clan's patriarch was nearing the end of his lifespan. Moreover, he had revived once again. He would die soon. Therefore, he wanted to impart his cultivation to Yi Liangshui before he died. Although there would be a lot of losses in this process, it would be enough to raise Yi Liangshui's cultivation to the immortal king realm. He had left behind many arrangements to place a heavy bet on Yi Liangshui. At the same time, he also hoped that Yi Liangshui would have an extremely important position in Ling Zhao's heart. This way, if Ling Xiao became an immortal emperor one day, the Yi clan would also become extremely glorious. There might be a day when they could restore the glory of their ancestors. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.